And we made it. Woo! Let's see. 5:59 it says. Just got in the door. Uh, we're doing fine, Jeff. Oh. Whew.
Lauren saved the day again.
Yeah, if we hadn't had Lauren's car, we never would have made it in time. Yep. It was close. It was close. Oh, my goodness. We kept it under the speed limit. Whew. Anyhow. Yeah, I just got in from Missoula. You've had a. It's, any rivers in the mic, creeks ain't flowing. Let's see. Let's see. A lot of chat going on before we got here. uh, okay. So I presume the sound is okay. Yeah, Jeff. Keep safe. Definitely. Okay.
He's got a hurricane, doesn't he?
Oh, yes, he does. 36 hours. Cat 4.
Wow.
Yeah, that's going to be a ride. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that's not a good one, Jeff. At least we don't have to worry about that.
Stay safe, Jeff.
Oh, hello, Rock. Just got in about 2 minutes ago. Anyhow, let's see. This week, hey, log cabin. Still wasn't feeling up to speed. So since Lauren and Jim were a little behind schedule putting up a cabin there, about 30 miles that way, 35 miles. Even I went up there to help them out a little bit, something we could, I could work at my speed, which generally wasn't much. I mean, I was putting on weather stripping and things like that.
So was I.
And so was she. Yep. And so that was a nice weekend. It was not too stressful physiologically. We had a good time. You're lost, Lars. It was amazing. It was completely undescribable. I don't even know what to say about what you missed. But
it was
maybe on the
totally
replay.
Cool.
Yes, you can replay it and see exactly what you missed. So anyhow, that's what we did this weekend. We got another batch in the mill tank there. Talking with Jason down in Central America. Down there, they're using mainly zinc to precipitate the gold out of the Eco Goldex solution. They either use Merrill Crowe process with zinc dust, or they're actually using zinc strips, like foil strips, kind of like chaff, so to speak. I have some zinc granules, and we can sieve those to make sure they're plenty large enough that the filters at each end of the resin cartridges can hold in, and we'll plan is to pull the cartridge out of the number one holder and replace it with some zinc and see what happens. Not much, 20, 25 grams, something like that, and run a batch through it. And we will see what happens. Well, Mr. Lodak is probably the best one here to guess the price of gold in the near future. So, what is it, Mr. Lodak? What's your guess? But anyhow, we're going to try with the zinc, see how efficiently it cements the gold, and well, Mr. Lodak says it's going to go down, at least for the moment, huh?
I've been hearing a floor of 1,600.
Jeff Kablock says low of 1,600. That's his guess. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But anyhow, so we're going to try that as a test, because it's pretty easy to get the gold away from the zinc. You just dissolve the zinc in sulfuric acid. So that'd be pretty simple. We'll see how efficient it is. But if we can get good precipitation on zinc, then yeah, that might be the way to go. I don't know. We shall see what we shall see. The resin is being, annoying. Really grabs the gold, doesn't want to give up the gold. So we shall see what we shall see. What are you using for a filter with the zinc? The resin cartridges themselves have a felt filter element at each end to contain the resin. I was thinking, I have some zinc granules. I'm not sure exactly what the size is, but I was thinking to sieve them like to 40 mesh plus, and that I know will stay in the filter element, and so we won't lose any zinc there. Oh, for goodness sakes. Who's this? Hello? I doubt it. It's some female computer. I don't know, Rock. Mr. Lodex says 1580 is a 0.786 Fibonacci retrace. Could go to the 886 at 1.520, though.
Okay.
Just keep reminding me, Chris.
Yeah, because I'm hearing 1,600 as a floor.
Yeah, Rob, I can understand that. I don't expect it to stay down here. Not with all the hoorah hitting the fan. Yeah, that just makes no sense unless there's a lot of manipulation going on. Speaking of which, since I just got in the door and didn't have time to visit the little room over there, perhaps Eva could take control of this live stream for just a moment while I attend to some urgent business.
Dude got a number one thing going on, I think. Yeah. Yeah, Chris. Wow, Rob Bob. Does not surprise me. Hi, Kodak. Hi, David. Hi, Chris. Yeah. The peeps I talk to are looking at a hard floor of about 1,600 for gold, though a couple of people are saying that if they can't get strong support at 1,600 and the treasury bond situation continues to escalate, it could go as low as 1577. So don't know. Hi, Rock Butcher. I gotta show you guys. Hold on a second. You gotta see this. This is so cool. Now, as you know, while all y'all like that funny looking yellow stuff, I like gemstones. Look. When we were up there helping to put the cabin together, we went up and we looked inside and at it. And that was in the dump pile. Cool. It's got garnets on it. It's mine. 1,300 by the new year, huh, Indiana Gold? Jeff, he's going to go over where you use the zinc with the pregnant solution. My question is your question, Jeff. Do you get to reuse the zinc? Because I'm thinking if the zinc just becomes zinc sulfate, you should be able to get it back out. But I don't know yet. I'll let him talk about how it works. They are, Chris, primarily reddish root beer. They're not pure root beer. They're not that deep purple red that is a gem quality garnet. There's a couple in here that really flash a dark reddish pumpkin. They're really, really pretty. And yes, David, but yep, I finally managed to mine some gemstones. Finally, I mean, it's like, oh, cool, I was very, very happy with that since I like gemstones. Gold is pretty, don't get me wrong, but you notice I don't wear gold. I wear silver. Silver's better. Yeah, they really are, Rob. I've got a few others. Well, whatever kind of garnet they are, Rock Butcher, Chris, they're pretty. And I mean, they're mine. I found them all by my auntie Donty self on the dump pile. But man, if you haven't seen the video yet, inside that adit, there is this really, really weird fungus. It looks, for all the world, like cotton balls. It does. It looks like carded cotton before it's spun, like cotton roving or cotton balls. It is very, very bizarre stuff. Thankfully, it turned out I was not allergic to that particular variety of mold, fungus, or whatever the heck it was. I tend to be allergic to molds occasionally, but it was really kind of cool looking and pretty neat, Well, it wasn't really foamy, David. It looked for all the world like if you took, if you rolled out a piece of cotton batting, like you'd use in a quilt, and you combed it, like you were going to spin it into yarn instead. 100% retrace of this run is 1450. If it gets below that, it's destroyed and will go to about 1300 before support. Wow. Yeah, it was on Rotting Timbers, Rock Butcher, as a matter of fact. No idea what it was. Really cool looking stuff.
Oh. So.
And someone asked about the zinc and whether you use it on the pregnant. Jeff Bybee wants to know exactly how this zinc thing works.
Well, the zinc will precipitate gold out of some solutions, cyanide, for example, just like the copper precipitates the silver out of a silver nitrate solution once you've gotten rid of the nitric acid. Very similar kind of chemistry sort of thing going on. In the case of cyanide, they have something called the Merrill-Crowe process. In the case of the silver nitrate, you want to get rid of the nitric acid so that when you try and precipitate the silver, the nitric acid isn't continuing to gobble it up. So you want to neutralize the nitric acid first. In the case of the cyanide, you don't want the cyanide to keep redissolving it, but you can do something real easy. It's reduce the oxygen content, because the oxygen is critical for the dissolution of gold with cyanide. The Merrill-Crowe process puts the solution under a vacuum and deoxygenates it first, and then precipitates it, and then you reoxygenate it later. It's easy just to spray it in air. And So this is where the question comes. Now, in the case, Chris brings up the problem. Well, is it going to redissolve? I don't know exactly how efficiently. According to Jason, that's the way they're doing it down there in, I think it's Honduras, but I'm not sure. However, the bigger mines are actually using Merrill Crowe. So we shall see what we shall see. It's a quick test. We'll see what happens. The resin, 3 resin cartridges will be running back up. So anything that gets through will get absorbed by resin. But if we can efficiently precipitate the gold onto the zinc, and keyword is efficiently, not having to use a whole lot of zinc and etc., then it may be a better way to go, because then you run the solution through. As soon as you're done running solution, Chris says, be careful running the resin that follows the zinc. You'll have even nastier fuming, I suspect. Okay. Note to laboratory person. Make sure to notate that. Okay, little one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, in other words, Chris, you're saying even if we remove all the resin from the circuit at the time, this is going to mess up our solution.
Probably not that much. We have some zinc in the ore too. Merrill Crowe is MERRILL/CROWE. Merrill and Crowe. One guy invented the zinc precipitation. The other guy invented the removing the oxygen from the solution first. Okay. So anyhow, yeah, the resin should be picking up the zinc would be my thought. Wonder how that would do in the smelting operation. Any ideas, Chris? Is that going to tend to make volatilization worse, or is it going to give something else
That's my
to
question,
play with?
Because according to the book, if you have zinc in your ore, it can cause, first of all, white flames if you happen to be scorifying, and second, it can cause changes in volatilization.
Interesting test. So, maybe just take one cartridge downstream of that, take the others out, and just run a single batch through, run our analysis samples off of that, and see what happens. It'd be interesting to see. So anyhow, we're going to play a few games. We can always replace the heating element again.
Especially now that you have gigantic hemostats.
Yeah. And then anyhow, so we're going to do a little experiment with that, kind of get an idea what happens. What about doing the reaction in a vacuum? You could do that. I'm not sure the exact details of the Merrill Crowe. I presume you put the solution under a partial, I can probably spray it into a partial vacuum to deoxygenate it, and then keep it in a partial vacuum while you run it through the filters, would be my guess. You introduce the zinc dust, filter it out, and then you reoxygenate it at the other end. That's as simple as just spraying it into your Baron tank, So anyhow, let's say, interesting questions. The other thing is, that's the resin downstream. We could try sulfuric acid soak to pull out the zinc. What do you think, Chris? Uh, the resin after the zinc, try and elute it with sulfuric acid to get, goodness gracious, get the zinc out. I think that might help. Well, this grand raspberry tickles my throat something terrible. Maybe allergic to something. Oh well. But anyhow, as they apparently down in Nicaragua, Central America, they're just using zinc cementation. And then they take the zinc, dissolve the zinc in sulfuric acid, and then flux the residue.
I want to find out if we can get the zinc back once it's in the sulfuric acid.
Make sure you wear your fume hood. Yeah, Lars, like I think so. Well, that's what, if you were to dissolve the zinc in sulfuric acid, you could probably electroplate it, but wow. Mr. Lodak says, I got a glass skull with 4+ grams of gold and black sands. I won in the mail today. Wow.
Wow, that's cool.
Yep. Sounds like it. Let me check something here. Okay, so Jason was also saying that 800 grams litharge, 400 milliliters acetic acid, 300 milliliters distilled waters. It's either a 1 or a 7. So I'll call it 1,000 milliliters nitric acid. That's for making lead nitrate. Apparently, they add a little bit of lead nitrate in with their pregnant solution on the bigger mines to keep from passivating the zinc. Let's see. Okay, nothing else there. As far as I know, actually, I think Jason is the O version. I think that's the original blend. Exactly, Chris. It's low tech. Add some water to that drink. Anyhow, so I say we're going to play some games with zinc just to see in general what happens. Who the hell knows, Chris? I say it's pretty easy to test on a small quantity. So we shall see what happens. I would imagine the zinc is going to change color real fast if it's working. And we did have a fun time this weekend. Never put up a... David says bless you. Chris says bless you. We had fun doing the log cabin thing. I've never done such a thing in my life. Now, the funny thing is, and this is a very unusual circumstance for me, I was there with Lauren, Jim, Eva, and a guy named Joe that I don't think you've seen before. But anyhow, and I was the most ignorant person on the whole group. It was fun. Everybody knew more than I did about this job. It was hilarious. Plus, Both Jim and Lauren are pretty strong. Not so sure about Joe, but Jim especially. I mean, we're using one of those big giant DAP guns for adhesive, especially in the cold morning. He could just, I'm like, no problem. There was a dog, wasn't there? There was more than one dog.
Everybody had a dog.
Jim had his dog. Lauren had his dog. Joe had his dog. And when Jim's daughter was there, she had her dog. So we had dogs everywhere. Hey, AAA, how's it going? Watch out for that hurricane. It helps if you cut the end off of the. Yeah, I did. Actually, they were hoping for a bear because Jim's daughter had a tag. They said they'd seen a pretty cinnamon colored black bear running around, and so they were hoping she'd get a whack at it, but didn't show up. Blind dude. I'm thinking what's you're probably happening is there's something in the water itself that's a little hygroscopic, some kind of a salt or something. And so as it cools down, then it sucks moisture out of the air. And what you're weighing is extra water. That seems to be Chris's basic concept too. The DART system has successfully impacted an asteroid, which is better than a hemorrhoid. But let's see. Yeah, we'll see how well that worked at redirecting it. But so that's my guess, blind dude. So there were dogs. We were not terribly worried about bears. We were cognizant of it, but not terribly worried. Had some fun talk around the campfire. We really don't have a campfire up at Montana B unless Eva's up there on the hillside burning timbers during the day. We don't, sit around the campfire and kick back at night. Usually there's a red flag alert. We're not allowed to have a fire anyhow. But so it was kind of nice sitting around the campfire and shooting the breeze. Got a lot of holes in the breeze up there, I'll tell you. But yeah, we had a fun weekend. I would agree, Chris. I'm thinking moisture, condensation. Kodak, the first version of television, a fire pit. Yeah, pretty much. And Eva was sitting there going, put some more wood on the fire, put some more wood on the fire, put some more wood on the flames are dying down. I like to see the flames. Everyone else is getting farther and farther and farther from the fire.
It's not my fault you guys are so heat sensitive.
Oh my goodness. Man. 0.013 gram from the weight yesterday. I'm still thinking moisture. Where are you at, blind dude? Were you in Arizona? I'm terrible with names and faces. Even worse when I can't see the face. Oh. Silver City, yeah, it's the end of the monsoon. How's the moisture doing right now? Yeah, Chris's suggestion couldn't hurt. Calibrate it. It's nice and wet. Yeah, I'm thinking moisture. That would be my guess. It doesn't take much. Are you using distilled water or deionized water? If not, I said there tends to be some minerals in there is salt is probably the most common one. That'll actually suck moisture right out of the air at about 30-35% humidity. Just water with that. Okay, what kind of water? Out of the hose, blind dude? You know? If you're using city water, oh, Chris George says jet dry will do it too, huh? Yep. Okay. I'm guessing moisture being sucked out of the air. So that would be my guess. Okay. Oh, dearie me. I do seem to be getting better. First day out at the log cabin, I took a little break there in the afternoon, didn't I? Yeah, I was feeling a little wimpy. And yeah, the real weight is when it's hot. Exactly, blind dude. And second and third day didn't notice that much of a wearing down. So I think I'm getting better. Next weekend, theoretically, going to be back at Montana B. We got to get some more ore. We don't have enough for another full batch, so we need to get mining here. My brother should be in town tomorrow with his wife, so that's going to complicate things a bit. We'll see how that all works out. And STP stands for standard temperature and pressure. Blind dude. Oh, that was a couple weeks ago, dude. Man, smoking. Yeah, even how many weeks ago was that? 3?
What?
Haircut? Because that was
Yeah.
before I got sick.
It was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, Eva says.
2 weeks ago, I sheared you again.
So, anyhow, so that's kind of the plan. Again, this week is a little bit up in the air. I'm not sure exactly what Randy wants to do. I saw Eva do a live cut on this show once. Oh, she's here. What is it? 7:30 is when you do your tinfoil hat report.
Tinfoil hat report is at 7:30.
Okay. Okay, smoking, whatever works. But anyhow, and I had a lot of thoughts to do with Randy, but Randy's wife is not nearly as nimble as he is. So I'm just not sure how this is all going to work out. We're going to play it by ear. He'll show up tomorrow. He says probably around 9 o'clock in the morning. He was in Pocatello about an hour ago. So we shall see what we shall see and play it by ear. And sorry, I'm keeping all that for me. With respect to the claim jumper situation, we sent a letter to both of the interlopers, one of which pretty much denies everything and demands proof, which is fine. We have the proof. So we shall see exactly what the situation is. It may or may not get complicated. Said person says they've already sold the claim, which, if true, could make life a little more complicated. What's that? U.S. says it told the Kremlin that Russia will face catastrophic consequences if it uses tactical nuclear weapons in the Ukraine. Well, so far the catastrophic consequences for them haven't been that serious, so who knows? But yeah, they're trying to make it World War III. Let's see. Now, where was I going? I was going to this to check and see what the latest situation is here. And it's still listed as now available. So I don't know. Is there a new address at the bottom of a cave-in? Not to my knowledge, John. So anyhow, we're still working that. He says that from his research, he can't find any pre-existing claims. And it's like, okay, we'll show that there was pre-existing claims. What can you do? Not officially, Kodak. The 3S method of endangered species management is a little risky when you're dealing with human beings. So, we should be in good shape legally. It's just a matter of going through the motions and stuff. Annoying, but oh well. So, let's say we're still working that issue. Some things are confidential, so I'm not at liberty to discuss things in great detail. But yeah, my original opinion is relatively unchanged. Let's see. Gosh. Well, I need to take that Stutenroth. That's one thing we need to do, little one. I need to take the Stutenroth apart to check it out while Randy's here. And let's see. We need to check Stutenroth. Not sure what the wear is. One thing about impact mills is because stuff's flying like crazy, you really don't usually have a good way to look inside them and visually observe the wear rate. So yeah, that's my thought, David. I want to make sure we're not too far down. I can tell there's a difference in texture of the material that I'm not sure is due to a difference in the feed. It may be a difference in the grinding action, but I want to make sure that we don't take it down too far to where we can hard face it reasonably well. Also, while Randy's here, I'd like to get those spring bushings replaced. With me and Randy working together, we should be able to get that done in less than an hour over at Lawrence. He's got, big floor jacks and air chisels and impact wrenches and stuff like that. So it should be pretty easy to just jack it, pull the bolts, pop out the bushings, pop in the new bushings, and put it back together again. Famous last words. You know how that goes. Oh yeah, what could possibly go wrong? Anyhow, how rusty? Fair. I've got brand new bolts. So how much was the log home kit? Good question.
Don't know yet. Didn't find out.
I didn't ask Jim. He didn't just volunteer the information, so I really don't know. Although he said they got some Mennonite communities around here, and he said they from the time they ordered it to the time they had it cut and ready to ship was like 4 days. 20 grand, I bet. I would not be surprised in the slightest, David. I don't know about the free lots of trees nearby. Really have no idea. There are lots of trees nearby. I don't know how free they are. I suspect private land is not free, and Forest Service probably charges some kind of a fee. Aside from that, I really don't know. I know that a load of logs smaller than those runs about $1,900 for a semi-truck load. Now, these are smaller diameter logs. I mean, you can get logs. What would you say the stuff is out at the ranch? About, I don't know, 10 inches max.
Yeah, they're between 8 and 10.
She says between 8 and 10. I would go for that. For those size trees, that's the maximum diameter of the individual trees. And I'm guessing like, I don't know, 25, 30 footers. Yeah, I'd say almost like more poles than logs. Exactly. But $1,900 for a semi load. It's great way to get wood for your wood stove. You
Or for sawing up
slice
some
it
nice
up with your
rough cut boards for the house or something.
chainsaw and then split it on the log. Now, I can also use some of those for stalls. You may be correct, Smoking. I am ignorant of these things. Smoking says, I saw some left-hand twist logs in there. I think they untwist and create gaps from my log building study and experience.
Uh-huh. So I wasn't the only one who spotted that. So tell me, what did you think of some of those dog legs and bowed out logs there? Not to mention the fact that there were 2 different varieties of pine amongst those logs. I mean, we're talking ponderosa and lodgepole that I saw, but there was one in there that I was side-eyeing because it looked an awful lot like a loblolly to me. I'll tell you, they're going to shrink differently as they season, and they're not as seasoned as they should be.
I would tend to agree that they're not heavily seasoned.
They aren't.
But
Period.
Again, I'm no expert on this. It was really fun sitting around a campfire going, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
You see, he comes from Yuma. There are no trees there.
Sure, we have trees. We got some palm trees.
Palm trees are not trees.
We have things called ironwoods that are called trees, but around here would be called a large bush.
Palm trees are
Mesquite
not
trees, same thing. As looking at those, I would say they were not grade A, but I really don't know. Again, I'm ignorant of this stuff. My log cabin experience is about that much.
And by the way, would you believe the roof they're going to be doing is tongue and groove blue pine? I really want to see that roof. That ceiling, technically.
Well, one thing we were doing too, Smoking, as we were stacking each course, we were stapling 1-inch square foam weather strip and then laying down a good heavy bead of subfloor adhesive. And in the corners, there was some foam stuffed in the corner gaps and stuff. So there is some sealing there. Again, not my expertise, but they seem to think it'll work out okay. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, the roof, they're going to have tongue and groove planking from the ridge pole past the wall, about 2 feet? Something like that. And then on top of that will be the wiring. And then they're going to foam like 8 inches of spray-on foam, then sheathing, and then metal roofing. They say it's very, very good, but I don't know. Oh, little one, blind dude, you let us. Yuma sucks. When I was a kid, we stopped there at the McDonald's and the doors were stuck open because of the pavement being like mud and the heat was stuck all over the entrance. F that. Yeah, it gets pretty hot in Yuma.
Yuma sucks rocks. Arizona sucks rocks. We all know this. Yuma's ridiculous.
I say I really don't know that much about log homes, but it was kind of fun putting it up. Um, Lauren
Well,
was
I'll tell you, I don't like that German style. Swedish curve, mortise and tenon, square socket, fine. I don't like that German style.
um, Lauren basically was sitting on the excavator the whole time. Well, sometimes he would get off to hook up another log, but I mean he was slinging the logs up there. Um, he had forks for his bobcat like thing. It's actually a caterpillar, um, which was extraordinarily strange trying to pick up a full bundle of the prefab logs. I mean, back tires up in the air. So we had uh, we had to offload some or restack them a little bit to get it where he could move it. And there was some place where there was a tree and the existing building, he had to thread some long ones pretty tightly through there.
Inches to spare, literally.
Bear River Log Homes gave presentation on their kit homes. They used the term standing dry timber for beetle-killed lodgepole trees, never dead wood. Idea being logs already dry, little shrinkage. Smoking likes hand-scribed full Swedish cove.
Oh, yes. I like smoking. Smoking knows his cabins. Though I will say, I always like mortise and tenon. It's got such a pretty, pretty look to it. And dovetail. When you can find
I like
somebody that
dovetail.
can do a dovetail log cabin. Dovetail is really, really nice.
Lars, in his usual inimitable fashion, says, being a German-style cabin, shouldn't the wall joints be sealed with sauerkraut? I think you'd have to use the dried cabbage as the fiber reinforcing for tar. Then it would probably work okay. Oh, by the way, if it had been legal, I'd had a permit and blah, blah, blah. This morning I could have got you 2 geese, no problem, with one shot. There's a whole line of geese wheeling over the lake there, over at Bob's, and they came around. They were coming right up the beach basically, and they were like, I don't know, 25 feet away in a line at about head height. And it would have been easy to just wait until they line them to shoot. You got 2 or 3 of them headshots.
Dinner.
Yeah. Well, I imagine you could kill the beetles pretty easily too. But yeah, I think the beetles only eat live wood. I don't think they hang around dead wood.
Yep.
Smoking says, my first log cabin looked like someone had let out some Boy Scouts with hatchets. It was a deer stand.
Ah. Well, hey, you got to start somewhere.
Well, I have to admit that they did a lot of interesting stuff with chainsaws there. But yeah, it was an interesting project. One thing they would do, the openings that actually mark on the header, so that when you put the header up there, you can see, because I mean these things don't stack perfectly. They tend to do this. That back wall that you saw where they had the excavator pushing against it, not even close enough. He had to go around to the other side of the building. We ran a big strap and a log chain, hooked it to the blade of the excavator, and he had to back up with the excavator to bring that wall to the proper position where we could screw it together. Yeah. And there was a little tricky stuff, but again, Jim says he's built about 10 log homes. Joe, not sure how many. Lauren seemed to be knowledgeable. So I just did what I was told.
I was the one that made the dowels for my uncles when they made log homes.
Yeah, we just used screws. Pre-drill a 1/4 inch pilot hole and then big, gigantic, screws into the log below. So, I mean, just lay the log, the course, staple the weather stripping on top, lay a bead of glue, set the new log, get it adjusted properly, screw them together, move on to the next log, and like that. And so it seemed to work pretty well.
Went out in good time.
And yeah, it was only 3 days. We got there. The first day they had just started laying the logs. The next day was the first video you saw where I was up on the scaffold with Jim. And then the third day we had the roof beam in place. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they haven't checked the upper diagonals yet, but we shall see what we shall see. I mean, that's one thing I would have done, and yeah, I think come-alongs might come in real handy in a case like that. But so I found when fabricating steel, you got to check the diagonals because it will get away from you. No matter how carefully you tack it together, weird things happen. And I say, we shall see. It's not my project. Don't know what I'm doing. So everyone was pretty tired by the time we left Sunday. Smoking says the problem with big screw is condensation. It will draw moisture and rot. Wood pins are better, last longer.
Thank you, Smoking.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Smoking, I'll tell you right now, I looked at that thing and I'm like, that's not a century home. That bugger is going to need maintenance inside 10 years.
Don't know.
Bet.
Don't know. Say, not my project. I just a flunky. So, but it was fun. To a great extent, David, things that have been perfected over centuries are hard to get better, but there are new materials and tools that sometimes do improve stuff. Like weather stripping and subfloor adhesive. Don't know. That's again not my bailiwick. I know the roof with 8 inches of foam spray on foam insulation, he going to be watertight and stiff. And I'm not sure. Smoking, what do you think with that 30-foot span on the ridge pole? You think that's going to tend to sag under snow load?
37.
No, 37 end to end.
Yeah, so 30 feet.
About 30-foot span. That was one thing I was looking at going, that's a long unsupported span there. So I was wondering if a truss, as far as I know, no posts, but I do not know for sure. I would have gone with posts or trusses, I would think. That's kind of my thought. I think that the outer 4 or 5 feet of the roof, near the walls, is going to be cantilevered by the outside stuff, but that inner 20-foot length there is just all going to be, dead weight hanging in midair.
And how they lay the tin is going to make a difference too, because snow around here is not wet snow. It's not usually like New England snow. Most of our snow is dry. That plays a role here.
Yeah, Smoking, I don't know. Again, this is the sort of thing where I would think that some diagonal bracing of some sort. Again, you could put, if you didn't want posts inside, you could do trusses. But I know there is going to be some interior construction in terms of there's going to be 3 spaces in there. There's going to be a restroom and a sitting room and a sauna. So it's possible between those where the walls are, they'll run a post all the way up, like a 6x6 or something. I don't know. Again, haven't the faintest. With respect to the gables, I think by the time they get the roof on that thing, it's going to be pretty well diagonally braced. It's going to be secured all along those wall tops, and it's going to be a pretty rigid structure. So I think it'd be awful hard to go one way or the other. So again, I don't know. It's not like I was checking the plans out or whatever. I have found if you don't know what you're doing, don't bother the guys who do, because it just confuses them. Unless you really know something's wrong, just, stand back and wait till you're told what to do. But I was glad the excavator had plenty of oomph for that peak beam there. According to Lauren, he guesses it was about 1,700 pounds based on how it was acting. And his excavator, what did he say it could lift? Like
2,300 easy.
2,300 easy, he said. Yeah. David says roof all tongue and groove, plenty of strength. Yeah, plus 8 inches of spray on foam insulation on top of that. That's going to glue it all together pretty well. And then on top of that will be sheathing, and then on top of that, metal roofing. So I presume somebody knows what they're doing. I know it's not me.
Well, like I said, also the quality of snow we have around here, it's dry snow. It's not going to have a heavy snow load, because unless they give it a really shallow slope, that snow is going to come right off.
Well, you can see what the slope is, little one.
Yeah, the slope was more than shallow enough to take off most of the snow load.
The other thing is, too, the metal roofing they put up here tends to have like a Teflon coating practically on it. I mean, over at the ranch, there's a roof there that's significantly shallower than the one they were building.
Yep, but slippery as hell.
And it's slippery as the dickens. I mean, it's just dry. I can hardly stand on it. I have to find screw heads to grip. So I think they've got some surface treatments that make it a whole lot slipperier, so that the snow doesn't build up as much as it would otherwise. I'm not sure, Dave Avia. I haven't seen the specifications on whaled snot, but yeah. The stuff I was on could be galvalume, Chris. Hey, Shaggy. The stuff they're putting up there, again, I don't know. If it's going to match the other one, it's a dark green. So there's going to be some kind of a painted coating on there. Of course, it could be painted on top of galvanized. Who knows? This is what I mean about, new tech can sometimes make things work a lot better, even though the basic principle is the same. And we'll just see. But they seem to be pretty confident that everything was going to work out right. They weren't going, I don't know about this. So, not sure what the plan is. They seem experienced and competent, so I'm not terribly worried about it. And we had a good weekend. So what the heck? Good company, interesting weekend.
It was
Didn't
cool.
overstress myself. It was what?
It was cool.
Cool. Okay. I thought you said cold, and I thought.
And the food was good.
Well, of course, because we made it.
And the attic was good.
Yeah.
And I got garnets.
She's easy. Yeah, we did, Shaggy. We got lots of work done, and they really need to get that at a minimum the spray foam on before the weather closes in. There was let's say the main thing is that blue pine, I guess, is really sensitive to water staining, so they have to be very careful. They got tarps and stuff to, in case it rains, but hopefully it's not going to rain anytime soon.
Yeah, I think we got at least 3 more clear days.
Let's see. Well, they're going to need more than that.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to need a couple weeks. Rain Friday, it says. And that's it. Rain Friday. 5%, 44%, 28%. So reasonable chance of rain on Friday. But they got tarps and stuff, so I presume they know what they're doing. From edge to ridge pole, Jeff, that is the ceiling. And there's no joists or anything. It's the tongue and groove, then foam, then sheathing, then metal roofing on top of that. Oh.
Which should look pretty.
I'm glad I brought my climbing gear with me, because I found out it's a lot easier on these mining trips, since we're doing like every weekend. Don't unload the tools. I don't know, Shaggy. I really have no clue. Again, not my expertise, not my project. These people seem to know what they're doing. What dims TNG? What dims tongue and groove? What dimensions, I think, is what you're saying. Really not sure, Chris.
We'll probably see it when we go out there again, hopefully.
The bundle looked like about 10 or 12 feet long. That's all I know. What is the cross section? Don't know. If that was 3x6, I don't think there would have been enough in that bundle to make a whole roof out of.
Well, I'm hoping we get a chance to see it.
Oh, we'll see it sometime, little one.
Because I want to see it.
Yeah. No, it'd be very nice. It's beautiful country up there, too. You didn't see much from the video I shot, but driving up there is pretty aesthetically pleasing, too. And on the way back, lower radiator hose got a hole in it, and the engine got really hot, but didn't seem to be damaged.
Because I told you to pull over.
Yeah, even noticed it first. I was going down a long grade, so I wasn't exactly watching my temperature. Once I got over the top of the grade, started coming down, watched the temperature, I stopped looking. I think it's going to be a fairly thin deck. I really don't know. How far from our tunnel? A long way. Road miles, over 100 road miles. Is the opposite direction. Ours is this way. This is that way. But yeah, it's one of those things that it was fun to do, and we'll probably be out there on a regular basis from time to time as this whole project goes on. But I have to focus on what I'm doing, What do you think is the longest down or upgrade that I know of? Well, Donner Pass is pretty freaking good. No, John, this is not our project. This is Jim's project, totally separate. How do you like your neighbors? What neighbors? There's a couple ranches you drive through to get there. Don't know. But yeah, it's pretty much uninhabited.
Well, our project, I don't like the flame jumper.
Yeah. The McDonald Pass going over to Missoula here, You get out of town. It's what is it, 6.5 miles long?
Yep.
Like
6.5, 7 miles long, about a 7% grade.
Yeah, it's pretty good grade too.
Tops out at 6,500 feet elevation.
Yeah. Remember when they diagonal planked to create the diaphragm? No, not familiar with it, Jeff. But and the other thing is too, with the tongue and groove, they may glue it together. I don't know. Again, I haven't done this, so I have no idea. If you were to glue the tongue and groove together, then nail it at both ends, you'd wind up with a pretty strong membrane. Um, I have no idea if they intend to do diagonal. I didn't get any indication of that. But yes, it sure could be pretty.
Herringbone is pretty too.
Yeah. I don't know.
If you're going to use a classy wood on the ceiling, it should be a pretty ceiling.
I would think so. If you're going to go to that extent to get some really good wood, you'd think you've got a plan that'll look really good. Well, the one thing that is wondering me is, I mean, you've got those roof tongue and groove planks have a 6-inch horizontal span, 6-foot horizontal span from the roof beam to the walls. So at the angle they're at, you're looking 7.5 feet, then 2 feet on the outside. So that's it. Any news on the jumper? Question, which one? One, no. The other one, he denies everything and demands proof. So we're dealing with that. He says he's already sold the claim. We shall see what we shall see. Whitefish. Whitefish, Montana? I think there's such a thing. Flathead County, Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Get a little map here. Come on. Whitefish, Montana. Calgary, Helena. My guess is line of sight about 200 miles to Whitefish from Helena. By the road, add at least another 50 to that. Huh. They don't show all those secondary roads that I know exist. Let's see what happens when I scroll in a little bit. There's Missoula. There's Seeley Lake. Getting a little oriented here. Okay, yeah, it's north end of Flathead Lake, little one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Pretty area.
PT boats were double diagonal mahogany planked. Now, I heard they were plywood. Were they planked instead? I actually went fishing. The first boat I ever ocean fished from was an old PT boat, the Vagabond out of San Diego. And they re-engined it. Originally, they just bought it surplus, and they found out that those what are those 12V engines, gasoline engines, did not like to idle very well. So they got very good at changing 24 spark plugs in a big hurry. Whenever they parked the boat, it was spark plug change. Yes, Dave, we are in Montana. We are in Helena, Montana. We've been staying here for a year and a half now, a little over a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Target rich environment up here.
Yeah, if you can avoid scammers and claim jumpers.
Sooner or later, we shall make it very painful on them. Yeah. Yeah, they had ways to deal with this in the old days that were much more direct than nowadays. It's funny. BLM won't get involved. The Montana Bureau of Mines won't get. They won't even tell me what's legal to stake a claim with, what corner posts and stuff. So sorry, that's a legal opinion. I'm not allowed to give that. I'm just a geologist. If you got an ore body or something, I'd be happy to help you out. Oh man, lawyers have got everything all just bollock stuff, which is why people can get away with stuff. Because I don't see most district attorneys prosecuting such a thing. And to say the BLM, or it's all civil matter. You got to sue them. You got to take them to court. You got to, 3 years from now, you might get some. I think they just rely on inertia. It's like, well, play the game and keep a lawyer on retainer. Let's see. I was trying to do some math in my head today, which wasn't working too well. So 700. 325 times 150. Yeah. Yeah. What do you got going, Dave? Butte's nice. Hey, Lauren. Thanks for the car. It came in handy.
Lauren,
we got here with about 2 minutes to spare. Yep, it was tight. You ready for me to start cutting pavers tomorrow, Lauren? He seems to like the way I cut pavers.
Well, yeah. I'm pretty sure you can still cut pavers. You're not entirely blind as a bat yet.
Well, it's a complex shape, unfortunately. No, I didn't drive that fast. I kept it under the speed limit the whole way, especially as the owner's watching. But no, I did. Okay. Be over there in the morning. My brother's supposed to be in town around 9 o'clock. We'll play it by ear from there. You got loads of holes in the ground, loads of glacier till. How's the average grade per yard running, Dave? Yeah, we were 2 miles from Avon yesterday. We went through Avon twice today at speed. Man, I'm going to need some caffeine and B vitamins. They're actually fairly badly tasting, fairly poor tasting, but they're like 69 cents. And they work. And I'm poor. So do what you can. Do what you must. Yeah, per Lauren. 1.5 grams per yard. Damn.
Dang good.
That's good, Dave. For a placer, that's sweetness.
Excellent.
If you're looking for extra help or whatever, Jim, might have equipment or this or that can do you some good. He's trying to get this log cabin up before it gets snowed on. So he's busy right now. But yeah, if you're fully self-sufficient and getting, doing just fine, that'd be great. Um, but I say if you need some help or whatever, Jim might be able to figure something out. Don't know. No, John, beer is not an energy drink.
Liquid bread. I've heard.
The garden hose over the bucket handle trick. Nice on the hands. Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, Eva has delicate hands. So when we were working the mill, when we were getting up to speed on that, we took some foam insulation for small diameter pipes and put that on there. Well, Dave, we need to talk.
What?
You got my email address here? Let me give you my email address.
Somebody got some gemstones? I want gemstones.
There might be some sapphires there, but that's not. Hey, go ahead and send me a little email. Because, yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. Dave says, a place in Boulder I go has 1 ounce per ton and it's open for claiming. I don't know. I think he might have been talking placer, but I'm not sure. You talking placer or hard rock, Dave? And is it, how wide is it if it's hard rock? Yeah, Rock, there's a lot of good mines up there near Boulder there. This is a target-rich environment. Absolutely.
Which is why we now have scammer claim jumpers.
Yeah. Scammer claim jumpers. Let's just do a little calculation. If someone had 700 claims, as they say they might, and they were selling all of those for roughly the same as the one they wanted to sell ours for, which is $140 per month, that would translate to $98,000 a month. Now, obviously, only maybe 20% or whatever are actually sold. That's still $20,000 a month, and a 60-yard wide vein. Holy crap, Dave! Let's get together and talk. Definitely need to see that.
Is there silver in there?
Eva's saying, is there silver also? She's a big silver fan. I'm a big value fan. Yeah, that's pretty good, John. 8 ounces, 3 days with a high banker. Pretty good. Thank you, Dave. Looking forward to it. I actually like digging too, Shaggy. When I'm down in the mine there, just busting up rock and it's going good, I have fun. Yeah, Dave, I agree. There is loads of silver around here. I know there's at least one mine up there near Boulder that interested me on that. But yeah, that wasn't what I was specifically researching for at the time. And somebody was having me research. Hey, Tricky. Jason in Central America says down there they use zinc precipitation for the Eco Gold X primarily. So we're going to do a few little tests and let you know how that works. But He said the big mines use Merrill Crowe, but the smaller mines use either, they sometimes use powder, but they also use just zinc strips. So we'll see if that's a simple alternative to the resin. Any results on that new resin yet? That any kind of conclusions you can draw just yet? Now, David, that's not the right way to spell it. Oh, dearie. David goes, so? Well, it's a different meaning. You know, it takes a cheerful thing and turns it into something negative. My goodness.
What?
Yeah, I know there's some up there, Dave. So I've done a lot of research, but yeah. Yeah, Tricky says, I tried zinc. It didn't work well for me. You can also use aluminum, I believe. Yeah, although I'm not sure if you have to treat the aluminum first because it tends to have that aluminum oxide coating on it. Not sure. I've already got some granulated zinc, and we were figuring out just putting like 25 grams in a resin cartridge without resin and throw it in circuit and see what happens. And did you deoxygenate with before the zinc precipitation, Tricky, or did you use a fairly large excess of zinc? So you're kind of burning up your Eco Goldex. Also, question: does anyone know what happens if you neutralize the Eco Goldex solution pH-wise before you try and do anything? Does that inactivate the Eco Goldex? And without destroying the Eco Goldex? Interesting question. Because it'd be very easy to remove the DO, dissolved oxygen. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we're not even going to try that. Say, according to Jason, they're not, the smaller mines don't even bother with that. But I say, we'll do a few little tests since we already got the stuff and see what happens. Aluminum could be interesting too. Wouldn't be very good if you were using sodium hydroxide. Hey, anyone know what happens if you take aluminum and mix it in a solution of lime and water? I know what happens when it's sodium hydroxide and water. You get hydrogen gas. Or I think it's sodium hydroxide. Yeah, that's a question. What about all of the updock? I'm not familiar, illegal, with what you're talking about. The phrase is unfamiliar to me. As I say, it's an interesting question, Jeff, that I was thinking about in terms of if we could load an Eco Goldex solution heavily, like an electrolytic cell, we might be able to precipitate or do something like that. Updock scrubs. Still not familiar. Are you talking clothing? Protect, Don't know. There's just loads of fun things to try. I have a feeling this winter is going to be a lot more interesting than last winter. How much resin have we got right now? How many bags?
Probably about 6 or 8. I still have to assay a couple of them.
Okay, so around
They're
6.
not all full. Some of them are ones that have been around a while.
So around 2 kilograms of resin so far. Oh, Scrub's TV show, huh? Okay. So anyhow, say we're going to have lots of stuff to play with this winter. Latest results on the solution concentrations were not highly desirable. The concentration dropped again to where it's been most of the time. Not sure. The last batch before the one we just put in, little one, do you recall whether or not I was being highly selective on that one? I don't think I was. I think the last one
You
was...
were not being highly selective.
Yeah. I think I got a lot of ore dilution from both the lightly iron stained kryptonite and from closer to the ladder track. This batch that's in there now is pretty much just all vein material, and there's still some from the ladder track, but just because of the width of the vein, no more than a third, probably more like a quarter. Using electrolysis, iron anodes or aluminum anodes, take the mud and use hydrochloric. Now, are you using both iron and aluminum anode cathode? You know, where you got an iron anode and cathode, or an aluminum anode and cathode, and you're creating a precipitate, and then use hydrochloric acid to dissolve the non-gold material. Is that what you're saying, Tricky? And is that using the resin? You're getting it out of the resin that way? Or you got like the resin laying on an anode? Because we got a lot of that stuff to test too. But again, right now it's just work, trying to get as much stuff done as possible before the weather closes. And this is weird. I'm used to Southern Arizona where the weather never closes in. It just gets more unpleasant, but it never stops you for more than a few hours.
But that does not mean Arizona doesn't suck rocks.
Hey, iBreak, how's it going? Looks like you guys are still sweating like crazy. Yep. Yeah, Southern Arizona. Yeah, you're used to that heat down there, but like I say, if you can tough out the heat, you can work. Up here, when the dihydrogen monoxide turns solid, your leaching pretty much stops. End of discussion. So pretty soon we're going to have to start taking precautions. Okay, Tricky. And does the cathode touch the resin, or is the resin just between them? Yes, HCl is hydrochloric acid. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, iBreak. That was a fun project we did over there. That was the first time I've ever seen that happen, and so that was cool. Yeah, I know, Chris. I was thinking about that, but the question is, do we like put the mesh under a resin layer and then put an anode? Well, you could put like a small catch tray or something and then just circulate the solution over the top or whatever. And say, or you could put it, one side, you can make a vertical cell where you have the mesh, resin, porous divider, then the cathode. In the same place, break? Multiple feet? Sweet.
You found something good?
Yeah, I break for bedrock. Is that Adam? Is that his name?
I believe so.
I think Adam. But anyhow, he says they're multiple feet down working on a quartz seam now with color. Sweet.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Way to go.
Sweet. That's nice. I was glad to see that it worked out well. If Eva hadn't been insistent on coming up here to Montana for external reasons, I mean, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. That's what I would have been working on that spring. But that's really good. I'm glad to hear that it's working out for him. I have to give him a call, say hi. Yeah, that was fun. That was some beautiful scenery, and it was nice being able to take Eva too, and the quad and everything. I say it's they're special times. They really are. And when you leave this world, you don't take anything with you except maybe the memories.
I want some of that beautiful shimmery rock.
She likes that high mica, silvery looking rock. She really liked that.
Landscape stone.
Yep.
That stuff is freaking gorgeous. Serious landscaping potential there.
And a GI pipe. Galvanized iron with the zinc removed. Okay, so just essentially a black iron pipe. Okay. So, Tricky, how do you keep the precipitates separate, or do they just stick to the galvanized iron and then you acid dip that? If somebody told me what that stuff's called, but I forget, Adam. I really don't.
It's pretty.
Yeah, Tricky. Let's say, is that just precipitates out, or does it actually coat the iron pipe? Put the resin in water with a spoon of salt. Use a non-magnetic stainless steel pot as a cathode, and an iron pipe with the supported in the middle.
So you might be getting gold chloride.
No, you'd be getting gold, but the intermediate ion would be gold chloride. Well, I agree with that, John, but the answer is no, I can't. If I could make a lot more money than I could gold mining. Oh. Of course, then some government would kill me and steal it. He says the gold bonds to the anode and then flakes off as the anode corrodes, collect the mud. How do you separate that from the resin, Tricky? Is the mud fine enough that you can sieve it from the resin? My resin beads are pretty small. So you'd have to have real fine pieces or real coarse pieces so that I could sieve the resin out. Or do you use just pan it away or something like that? That might work out all right. I would think the density would be substantially more than the resin. The resin's a little heavier than water, but not a whole lot.
No, I'm going to be looking.
Not as much as silica.
Tinfoil hat report's a little late tonight.
Use a 70 mesh screen, and the resin goes through the screen. No, let's see. The resin would stay on top of the screen, and the sludge goes through, I'm guessing.
Well, our 60 screen the resin stays on top.
Non-magnet stainless steel pot, iron pipe. It's definitely a simple enough system. So let's see, that would be the cathode. So it's negative, this is the positive. Okay. Yeah, tricky. That sounds interesting. I bet you could pan it pretty effectively too. And yeah, we could screen the resin to particular sizes using our own screens and make it a little easier. Right now, we use a 60 mesh screen to collect the resin on and then air dry it. And so I'm sure a 60 mesh screen would work with our resin because none of it gets through that.
Yeah.
And we have a couple. They're stainless steel screens, right?
Yeah.
In plastic, yeah. Stainless steel screens, plastic holders. Yeah.
We have several if you count the one that you can in the changeable thingy.
Yeah, that one has gaps around it stuff. I wouldn't want to use that.
I wouldn't either.
Not for something of this.
I want to buy a couple more of those classifier screens in other sizes.
You mean different mesh sizes?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Those are nice classifiers. I like those.
Yeah. Well, I want at least one more in the 60 and then I want one in the 100. Be easier than using.
You could use that as the cathode directly. I don't know how fast it would corrode the screen. Tricky says the other thing is the gold comes out first and then the silver plates out. Eva's grinning, Tricky.
Provided we even get silver, bearing in mind for some reason we don't seem to get any more than maybe 5% of the silver that's in our ore in solution, and then none of it stays in the resin.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons I'm upset.
She's upset.
Well, yeah. I want silver, and we keep getting this weird yellow crap.
Yep. I mean, we could theoretically have one of our 60 mesh classifiers as the cathode in, say, a glass bowl or something with the iron above it, and then you can just kind of shake it and let the precipitates come through. Yeah, I understand, Chris. John, I don't know how easy that is to do where you get a layer that is easy to peel off, but that, let's say that's a possibility. The other thing you could do, Chris, potentially, is have two screens, two classifiers, one inside the other with resin in between, have the top screen, the cathode, and then put the iron pipe in the bottom and then circulate the solution. And that way, all the stuff that comes off the iron pipe will be below the screen. And that would be fairly easy to do too. Okay, and then he says, after the resin is depleted, then soak in 5% HCl. Wash in salt water.
Hydrochloric acid?
Is that saturated salt water tricky or just something else? And
Speaking of
then,
which, I need more non-iodized salt. Put it on the shopping list, please.
oh my goodness, non-iodized salt. Let's see what I got. I don't think I have a shopping list at this instant. Okay, so non-iodized salt. Okay. Yes, David, you're correct. And carries on. Well, and this is it. We try different things, and eventually you'll find a system that with your ore will work. Hopefully, it's a relatively simple system and a fairly forgiving system. It doesn't have to be super precise, you know? The reason why I use a non-magnetic stainless is so I can use my magnetic stirrer to keep it moving around. Sweetness, yeah, that would keep the stuff moving just fine. Absolutely. I'm wondering what would happen if you, instead of an iron pipe, if you had like a steel bowl and coated the bottom with an insulating material and then put it up in the top. So as you're stirring, all that solution is over the top of that anode bowl. Then all of your precipitates are going to tend to go into the bowl. You know? Told you we needed a magnetic stirrer, little one.
You always say that.
Well, of course. They're a fantastic thing. Let's see. Amazon. Magnetic stirrer. For all we know, they're $12 nowadays. An Intlab. Intlab magnetic stir, $39. The Sutec magnetic stir hot plate mixer, max 520 degrees Fahrenheit, $53.99.
Oh my God, I'll have to cancel 2 visits to Five Guys. Oh no.
That's pretty good, little one. That's also a hot plate.
Uh-huh.
And that even comes with a support stand.
Yep.
Let's see. Magnetic stir, hot plate, mixer.
When you come up with my Jacob's ladder and my Van de Graaff generator, maybe I'll be in a better mood about your little story.
Slendor. That's a Stubek. Sutec is $53.99. And the Slendor looks identical. Bet you it is. Got the same specs. I think we should get one, little one.
All right, whatever.
Okay.
You really want a little stirry thing, you can get a little
stirry thing and heaty thing. Does both. Okay, so click on this.
You do realize that's not going to give you blanket permission to invade my lab, right?
Yes, little one. Okay, prime delivery Tuesday, October 4th. Got the money in the bank?
Yep, should be.
Clicky. It says okay.
Does this mean I get to go shopping in American Science and Surplus again this week?
Sure. Just don't find a magnetic stir for $12. Okay.
I looked for one there.
See? What is the top surface and size? 5 by 5 inches, says 1,000 milliliters capacity. So good for just our little bench top thing. We don't have a lot of power either. Tricky Dicky. Yes, what is the chemical abbreviation for Chinesium? Capital C, small r, capital A, small p.
Yep. Absolutely.
Could be, Chris.
Oh.
So right now we're just going cheap, fast, and easy. We have the glass beakers and such, so that'll be fine.
Will it use plastic ones too? For low,
if you're just using it for stirring, yes.
Well, that's what I wanted to know.
Yes. If you're just stirring it, it'll use plastic. The heating element would require glass. Okay.
Hello, everybody. So, hasn't it been a wonderful week in clown world? Just saying, it's been fascinating to watch the meltdown. Now, in the mining world, Anglo cuts production and ups costs at Quellaveco and Chile mines. There's a lot going on in the South American and Central American mining world right now, and a lot of it is not good news. Okay, we all know this. Anglo-American announced Monday it has started commercial operations at its Quellaveco project in Peru, but cut back production guidance for the mine in 2022 to 80 to 100,000 tons from 100,000 to 150,000 tons prior. The mine is set to average 300,000 tons per year copper equivalent over the first decade of operations, making it the biggest new copper mine in the country since MMG's Las Bambas in 2016. Anglo CEO Duncan Wanblad said the mine will raise the London-listed company's total global production by 10% in copper equivalent terms and take the diversified miner's total copper production close to 1 million tons per year. Output at Quellaveco, which is entirely powered by renewable energy and employs an autonomous drilling and haulage fleets.
Robots.
Will be ramped up over the next 9 to 12 months. Wow. Production guidance for Quellaveco in 2023 and 24 is unchanged at 320 to 370,000 tons of copper. Anglo also said the cash costs at the operation are now pegged at $1.50 per pound, up from $1.35 per pound previously. The company also adjusted downwards its copper production guidance for Chile to 560,000 to 580,000 tons from its previous forecast of 560,000 to 600,000 tons, citing lower throughput at Las Broncas operations, which have been hampered by water restrictions and a change in ore characteristics. Anglo also upped average costs at its copper operations to $1.60 a pound from $1.50 before, reflecting lower volumes and inflation. Copper price has been in retreat since hitting all-time highs in March and was last trading at $3.30 a pound in New York, a 10-week low. The goddess has to wonder. An entirely green, robot-populated mine. This sounds very interesting. This also sounds like an extraordinary headache. And, the goddess has to wonder if these mining vehicles and autonomous thingy-wingy whatchamahoozies are powered by electric batteries. I wonder if they ever catch on fire like Teslas do, spontaneously. And if they do,
back in a second.
How long do they take to go out? The goddess is just curious. Seems to me that this is a little bit of an interesting idea. I think that their cost projections, given what's going on in the world, are probably a little bit optimistic. But okay, Fine, whatever. Greenland Minerals dealt setback in legal fight for rare earth project license. Australia's Greenland Minerals Limited said on Monday an arbitration tribunal had declined its request for interim orders against the Greenland government's draft decision to reject the miner a license for the Janveld Rare Earths project. The company had in July lodged an objection against the draft decision as it relied on a rule which bans mining of ore bodies with uranium content of 100 parts per million or greater that is being contested separately in the court. The tribunal ruled the interim orders requested could no longer serve their purpose of maintaining the status quo as the Greenland government had already rejected the miner's license application, Greenland Minerals said in a statement. In March, the miner took the governments of Greenland and Denmark to court for the legislation passed last year that banned uranium mining, risking the development of the Kvanefjeld project. More than 1 billion tons of mineral resources have been identified in the Kvanefjeld project area, with ore estimates of 108 million tons. It also contains radioactive uranium, which some locals are concerned would harm the environment. Greenland Minerals said the tribunal made no findings on any other aspects of its case against the governments of Greenland and Denmark, but it will continue to seek appropriate remedies in arbitration. The company expects the government to soon issue a final decision rejecting its license application, it added. Greenland Minerals shares fell 9.5% on the news. And in a related kind of sort of weird side note, the internet is agog and very concerned about Hurricane Ian down there in Florida. Because apparently, right in the path of this Category 4 hurricane, there are piles of some form of phosphate fertilizer that has radioactive things in it. The media said that this radioactive fertilizer could be an environmental disaster. Apparently, it's like 5 pica, okay, little tiny amounts of radioactive stuff in this fertilizer. But so the media is now upset. I do not know exactly how radioactive it is, but from what the sane voices online were saying about that particular news story and trying to explain to people why, they don't have to go to their fallout shelters in the Florida panhandle because of the piles of fertilizer in central Florida, it doesn't sound like it's a whole lot of a radiation concern. But we shall see. The media certainly was having a field day on the issue, which is a little bit bizarre considering there's a whole lot more interesting things to worry about when it comes to hurricanes. Just saying. Commodities gauge falls to the lowest in 8 months on recession fears. These guys are really late to the party at this point, okay? A key gauge for raw materials has tumbled to the lowest in 8 months amid mounting fears of a global recession. Well, derp, dude. The Bloomberg Commodities Spot Index, which tracks futures contracts for everything from oil to copper and wheat, fell 1.6% to settle at its lowest level since January 24th. The measure has lost almost 22% since peaking in June and has erased all of its gains since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The dollar's relentless surge to repeated records is making commodities priced in the currency more expensive for overseas buyers, further eroding the demand outlook. While global inventories for many raw materials remain tight in the face of robust demand, there is increasing concern of a pullback. Unprecedented interest rate hikes by central banks to stem the highest inflation in decades is stoking worries that tightening measures will throw economies around the world into a recession. A slowdown would hurt the outlook for energy demand and sap investor appetite for risk. Stunning. Such a stunning, amazingly well done display of doublespeak there? Well, let's see. Point one. By every normal economic indicator, the world's already in a recession. Some of us have been in that recession longer than others, but the world is already in a recession. Number two, if you actually start digging through the 10 zillion charts that usually contradict each other, demand has not really skyrocketed. You're seeing a lot of a bullwhip effect from the utter lack of many things being available at all during that whole lockdown thing that happened. But overall demand is not robust. Overall demand has been static or lower than it was before the whole lockdown thing that happened. And then there's the matter of the skyrocketing, unprecedented, and totally amazing strength of the United States dollar. Well, yeah. The top turd on the pile is usually the best looking turd. Okay? Not to put too fine a point on it, when every other currency on the face of the planet looks like it really, really totally sucks rocks, then if you only marginally kind of sort of suck rocks and you happen to be the world reserve currency, you will look good by comparison. This is kind of like when your mildly chubby goddess here is put next to a land whale, like the one I'll probably be seeing in the next couple of days. Yeah, you'll look good by comparison. Trust me on this one. This is why people like me hang out with people that are shorter than me and larger than me. It usually works out really well. It should be noted that apparently quite a few banks across the pond in the United Kingdom have randomly and quietly decided they were going to stop issuing home loans last couple of days or so. Now, mind you, these are the same banks that quietly some weeks and months ago started changing their customer policies so that, well, if you want to take out more than about £1,000 cash, well, that just ain't going to happen right away. And, you know, you can't take out £300 from your ATM anymore. You can only take out £200 from your ATM. Very, very interesting that. And apparently, Australia's central bank is still maintaining the position that even though they are multiple billions of dollars in the hole, for some bizarre and unaccountable reason, because they can print all the money they want, they're absolutely not insolvent. Totally and completely not insolvent. This is like Monopoly, you see. If you read the Monopoly rules, the bank can never go bankrupt. The bank has unlimited money. They can write your money on little slips of paper for you. This should be beginning to sound familiar now to anyone who hasn't been living under a rock recently, okay? But this is a very interesting doublespeak article because the level of cognitive dissonance that is happening in the real world on social media is becoming actually noticeable. More and more people are saying, I don't get it. You know, it looks to me and it feels to me like a recession. It looks like a duck. It walks like a duck. It quacks like a duck. And they're calling it a pigeon. So, yeah. It's becoming noticeable even to the most hardened newsaholics that eat, sleep, and breathe the mainstream media narrative that something is not right. One wonders what will happen when they actually wake up. In happy news for silver, The COMEX hit another new low this week. LME's reserves on quite a few metals are lower than they have been in decades. And the number of contracts for paper silver and paper gold continues to climb rapidly. Gold and silver are both leading, and COMEX is once again telling people they will be happy to store your gold and your silver for you, free and for nothing, as a matter of fact. If you allow them custody of your gold and silver, they'll even pay you a little bit of interest. The goddess hopes most sincerely that nobody in this group is insane and delusional enough to turn your physical metals over to these yo-yos. That's all the goddess has to say about this one. A person would have to be certifiably insane to take that deal. Because if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Quite simple. And in the world of gold and silver, gold closed today at a rather ridiculous price, $1,630.60. Silver closed at $18.47. Platinum's down to $855. Palladium's at $1,980. And by the way, the physical palladium levels are really historically low, as in lowest ever. And rhodium is down to $12,500 an ounce. So things are going quite interesting there. The question is, where are gold and silver going to go? On one hand, we have the big banks, many of whom are still saying that they can easily see gold closing out the year and moving into the middle of next year in the $2,000 an ounce range. Silver, on the other hand, they're saying it's going to be down around $15 an ounce. And there have been a whole lot more trash talking articles about silver lately out and about in the media and on various investing websites. Everybody is on the trash silver and buy gold bandwagon, which kind of has to make the goddess wonder. Okay. As we heard from one of our own wonderful members here tonight, it would not be surprising. The numbers I'm hearing from people that actually watch charts are that gold could end up with a floor of 1,600. It may even have a floor as low as 1,587, 1,550. Silver could have a floor as low as 13. That's what I'm hearing from people that watch all kinds of different charts online. How good they are with their charts and what charts they watch, I do not know. But we have this interesting dichotomy going on. We have our government, as usual, entirely ignoring sound money because they can't afford to acknowledge that sound money exists. We have the banks with the Basel III regulations and a few other things looking at increasing their gold stock and talking up gold while trashing silver. We have so-called investors, most of whom are absolute and complete hacks, okay, and scammers. They're just trying to sell a product, trashing silver and talking up gold, but only the gold that they're pushing, which happens to have premiums that are even worse than that of the United States Mint. And you really have to work to get premiums that are worse than the United States Mint, okay? So in this regard, I am inclined to go along with the man on the street, because the man on the street is at least acknowledging that there is something really wrong and whack about our financial system right now. That no, things are not right. Things are not fine. Things are not good. When that happens, sooner or later, the man on the street does indeed move to precious metals if they see that those precious metals really are worth more. And I think that is why we're getting far more manipulation and trashing of the physical metals market and a lot more pumping of the paper metals market right now. Because it's very time consuming and difficult to manipulate the price of the physical metals market. Physical metal is physical metal, it has rules. Paper, on the other hand, a few keystrokes here and there, a few phone calls, a few spoofs by the guys over at Bank of America and JP Morgan who control 90% of the paper market. And it's real easy to jump the price or dump the price. Well, the big guys don't want the little guys holding precious metals. So the big guys will make physical precious metal look like it ain't worth crap. So the little guys say, well, it's not a hedge against inflation because it's going down while the dollar or the value is going up. But I can buy paper so that if it goes up, I do make a profit because the paper is being sold at a freaking discount. So where's the physical going? If it's not going out to your local LCS, and it's not going to you or I, and it's not in the vaults, because I'll tell you right now, I highly doubt any of it's in anybody's vault, where is it going? And if it's not going out faster than they want it to, why does COMEX want to pay you to hold your money? And they're paying well to do it. The goddess has many questions about this, but I am chalking it up to the great mysteries of life. The Federal Reserve's inaction will lead the U.S. into a deep recession, part 2. Part 1, by the way, was fairly ridiculous. I'm wondering how part 2 is going to be here. This is on the Kitco website. You may have noticed Kitco lately should be called Cryptco because they're a whole lot more about crypto than they are about metal. But, that's the way it is. Powell's Federal Reserve has been faced with one of the most difficult periods in time that began with a global pandemic, which led to a global economic shutdown. This led to an extreme and some say incorrectly allocated government stimulus. The result, rising inflation, which was followed by a critical mistake by the Federal Reserve that led our economy to a potential unresolvable crisis we now face. Potential unresolvable crisis.
Fake.
It was a single but critical misjudgment by the Federal Reserve that has now made it impossible for the U.S. economy not to enter a deep recession with high and persistent inflation that will scar the economy for years to come. Spoiler alert, we're already in a recession. We have been for about 6 months now. The Federal Reserve for years maintained a belief that inflation was transitory. That is completely false. The Federal Reserve has maintained for decades that inflation is a feature of fiat currency, not a bug. They're just upset about inflation that doesn't meet their computer models. The inflation is supposed to be there, according to them. I am so sick and tired of people refusing to acknowledge the simple fact that the inflation was always intended to be there. It is a feature, not a bug. Okay? No, the inflation isn't transitory. It's never been transitory. Hasn't been transitory since 1913. Based on the assumption that rising inflation was a transitory scenario that would work itself out over time naturally, the Fed did nothing. They knew that would not happen. They did nothing anyway. And yeah, rising inflation is a feature and a function of fiat currency. Hello, go to mesace.org to learn about real money, people, especially if you work at the Fed. By not raising interest rates years earlier when inflation began to rise, they sealed the fate of creating the economic scenario we are currently in. This inaction put the Federal Reserve in a position where its actions were absolutely too little too late. Well, that's true. But then again, that again has been a feature since the 1920s. Because the Federal Reserve did not react in a timely manner, it lost its ability to effectively stop inflation from rising. Oh, perish this. More importantly, set into stone the pain and hardship that the upcoming recession will have on the U.S. economy and its citizens. Well, since we're already in the recession, I think the word they're looking for is the one that begins with a D, and it ain't recession, and it's on the way. There has never been a time in history when the Federal Reserve effectively reduced inflation without moving their key interest rates to at least equal to the current level of inflation. Well, derp. Can we say no shit, Sherlock? That's the way fiat money works. But you see, they don't want to curb inflation. Paul Volcker was the chairman of the Fed from 1979 to 1987. During his tenure as chairman, he was tasked with effectively reducing the highest level of inflation in history that occurred throughout the 1970s and 1980s. Well, it wasn't actually, but that's okay. The chart above, labeled Chart 1 Interest Rates versus Inflation, is a graph of the inflation rate drawn as a solid black line from 1960 to 2010. Overlaid is a dashed line representing interest rates vis-a-vis the Fed funds rate for the same period. The area highlighted, beginning in 1980 to 1983, shows in 81 the interest rate was at its highest point in history, above 14%. Concurrently, it shows in 81 Chairman Volcker raised prime interest rates to 18.9% to reduce inflation to an acceptable level. Spoiler alert, there is no acceptable level because inflation is theft. Just like taxation. The chart above, chart 2, shows the average level of inflation in 1980 was 13.5%. Well, ours is now running about 18.5% here in the house. It also shows over a multi-year process from 80 to 83, Chairman Volcker was able to effectively bring inflation under control, taking it to an average of 3.2% in 1983. Well, one can make the case that life is a lot easier on the little guy if you're only having 3.2% of your wealth eroded year over year, as opposed to 13.5%. We can make this case. Okay, we can make this case. In contrast to the action of the current Federal Reserve from 2019 to 2022, it is clear the Federal Reserve not only waited too long to begin to raise rates, but was ineffective in recognizing inflation was growing at a rapid pace, and most importantly, was persistent and not transitory. The goddess will say that that's a diplomatic way of pointing out that when someone is looking something at something and they absolutely see what's happening, they absolutely know that it's happening, and they consider it a bug rather than a feature, one could suppose that from the outside they could use the excuse that they were being ineffective. There is some plausible deniability wiggle room in here, okay? I'll give them that. They have some plausibility, deniability going on here. The pandemic and recession in 2020 resulted in average inflationary pressures to come in at 1.2%, the fake number. By 2021, inflation began in January at 1.4%, the new fake number. and rose to 2.6% in March 2021. The newer fake number. If the Federal Reserve had acted when interest rates were at approximately 2.5% fake in 2021, if they could have effectively controlled and reduced inflation from spiraling out of control. I think that one falls under the category of if you can't say anything nice. In April 2021, inflation was running at 4.2%, yet another fake number, and the Federal Reserve continued to do nothing, insisting inflation was transitory and there was no need to act. Well, in their defense, it was transitory. It was only halting for a very small period of time at each new fake number before it went higher. So, yeah, it's transitory. That's fine.
The low inflation was transitory.
Well, they're trying to claim all inflation is transitory, which is fake. By May 2021, inflation had risen to 5%, then 5.4% in June, and still the Federal Reserve did nothing. Inflation rose to 6.2% in October, 6.8% in November, and 7% in December. And still the Federal Reserve did nothing and kept interest rates artificially low at 0 to 0.25%. Well, of course. Let's look at this from a household economy point of view here. Okay? Let's look at this here. If someone is so stupid that they are willing to loan the goddess money at 0%, and the goddess is printing her own money so she can print as much as she wants to pay you back with, and the money she is paying you back with is actually worth less and less every single month. Why in the world, if you were going to do something that dishonest, disgusting, immoral, should be illegal, and ought to get you hung, why in the world would you stop doing it when it works? I have no idea. The goddess is totally blonde on that point, okay? You know. Now the Federal Reserve is dealing with trying to reduce inflation and interest rates that are too low. Clearly, the Federal Reserve has painted itself into a corner. Well, yeah, they have. And by a critical mistake, it was not a mistake, that led them to do nothing when they could have had a strong and immediate impact on inflation, which would have screwed up their money train. Instead, they sat on the sidelines and watched interest rates rise out of control. Well, yeah, it benefited them. Why are you going to stop other people from being idiots when it benefits you? What will come in the years ahead will be the fallout from the lack of raising interest rates sooner. The Federal Reserve blunder will most certainly lead the U.S. into a deep and sustained recession. I believe the word for deep and sustained recession, what's that word again, Professor Hardrock? The one that begins with a D that is...
Isn't that what you take medication for, a depression?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we got lots of antidepressants now. Shouldn't be a problem.
Call Pfizer. We need more antidepressants. High inflation that will be remembered as the worst monetary policy of the 21st century.
We still got lots of time left.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, we still have lots of time left on that one. Oh, boy.
Up till now, yeah. But...
So that was a nice little piece of commentary there. Just saying. More price pressure on gold and silver as USDX and bond yields spike up. For those who haven't been watching the Treasury chart lately, this has been really interesting, actually, because the Treasury rates, the interest rates that are being paid on 2 years and 10 years and 30 years and all that good stuff, have been going up and up, like 10,000 feet up the slope of Mount Crumpet up, practically vertical. Yet for some bizarre and unaccountable reason, the only people that seem to be buying treasury bonds are American banks and the federal government. That is rather puzzling, really. I'm sure that I could puzzle and puzzle till my puzzler is sore before I could figure out, because I still haven't figured out how the hell you can buy your way out of debt by buying your own debt with money that you borrowed that made the debt in the first place. This makes multi-level marketing compensation plans look clear, transparent, and simple to understand. Okay? I mean, this is worse than Common Core math here, people. Gold and silver prices are lower in midday U.S. trading Monday. Gold prices hit a nearly 2.5-year low and silver a more than 2-week low today. Rising government bond yields and a very strong U.S. dollar index are the main bearish factors pushing down the precious metals markets. October gold was last down $12.70 at $1,632.80, and December silver was down 17 cents at $18.73. The global marketplace experienced rough waters Mondays in a continuation of a keener risk-off trading attitudes seen late last week. U.S. and/or global economic recession worries are rising rapidly. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Global stock markets were mostly lower overnight. U.S. stock indexes are mixed at midday, but not far above last week's 3-month lows. The goddess has to wonder just how much value, well, it's not really value since it's all fake too, but how much money on paper the stock market has lost since Lord Malarkey wandered into the albino McMansion. I'm sure somebody in here has the numbers on that, because it's not looking good. The Wall Street Journal today reported this year has been the worst year since 1930 for a buy the dip strategy in U.S. stock trading and investing. Forex volatility and rising government bond yields are in the spotlight Monday. The UK's big plan to sell more government bonds in an effort to finance better economic growth has helped to prompt a rout in global government bond markets. The bond vigilantes are back and the British pound is the target, read a Barron's headline today. Broker SP Angel, in an email dispatched this morning, said gold saw a minor flash crash overnight. The metal continues to get hammered by the U.S. dollar. Fascinating delusion, that. Foreign exchange volatility is rising, with the British pound passing its record low in 1984 and presently trading around $1.04 to the dollar. Well, it should hit parity sometime this week. The Chinese yuan is nearing 2008 lows. Traders are ramping up short positions on gold, with fund managers more bearish on the metal than any time over the past 4 years. Ooh. The goddess likes that. It's a good thing that Professor Hardrock actually got some money this week, because that means we can back up the truck tomorrow. Hopefully, the prices are there. Okay? Rising U.S. Treasury yields have been a major headwind to the gold and silver markets. Gold ETFs outflows continues, with holdings near their 2-year lows, said the broker. The key outside markets today see NYMEX crude oil prices weaker, hitting a 7-month low and trading around $78 a barrel. The U.S. dollar index is higher and pushed to another 20-year high today. Fascinating. Meantime, the yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury note is rising and presently fetching 3.771%. The 2-year Treasury note yield is 4.74. Very interesting. They'll pay you more to borrow your money for a shorter period of time. Okay, that actually makes some kind of sense. However, somebody who is better at manipulating lots and lots of zeros or using scientific notation than the goddess is, did some math online the other night. Some very inconvenient math that actually got checked by some other people on a website where people like to geek out over interesting math problems. And according to this person, at these levels, US Treasury securities are within a few fractions of a percentage point of hitting an unsustainable point. In that, there are so many of them floating around out there that at these interest rates, we will be unable to pay the maintenance interest payments on all this money we're borrowing. Oopsie. That is rather odd. Technically, October gold futures hit a nearly 2.5-year low today. The gold futures bears have a solid overall near-term technical advantage. Okay. Prices are in a 6-week-old downtrend on the daily bar chart. The bull's next upside price objective is to produce a close above solid resistance at 1700. Bear's next near-term downside price objective is pushing futures prices below solid technical support at 1600. First resistance is seen overnight at 1646.40 and then at 1652. First support is seen at today's low of 1624.40, then at 1615. December silver futures prices hit a 2-week low today. That's because people are idiots, but what can you say? The silver bearers have a firm overall near-term technical advantage. Silver bull's next upside price objective is closing prices above the solid technical resistance at 20. Well, one can hope, because if we stay too long in the 15 to 18 range, we're going to see a very interesting thing happen in our mining community. Talk about that in a minute. The first resistance is seen at a high of 1904 and then at 1940. The next support was seen at the low of 1843 and then at 18. December New York copper closed down 370 points at 330 and a half cents. Yeah, that is looking a little bit low for copper. Now, this is something that's being discussed a lot online at the moment because, of course, I hang out on Wall Street Silver, where we love silver, period. Okay. The goal is to drain the COMEX, but even if we don't drain the COMEX, we buy a lot of silver. We hold a lot of silver. And if you don't hold it, you don't own it. The discussions have been coming up more and more often about all-in sustaining costs and what it actually costs to get an ounce of silver out of the ground. And as we all know, mining economics is marginally more complicated than quantum mechanics. It's just really, really bizarre and unaccountable. But as it stands, at the moment, the paper price is right on the edge of the worldwide average all-in sustaining cost to get an ounce of silver from ore into a round or a bar or something else equally cool. I've been buying some bars lately. I decided to go bar hopping, okay? As these metal prices in silver, gold, copper, nickel, everything else, as these prices get driven down by market manipulation, by deepening recession, by a rise in energy costs and labor costs and regulatory costs, while the price itself that you're getting stays static, which is technically a loss, we're going to need to start looking for which mines are scaling back, which mines are moving to drilling and exploration programs only, which mines are looking at moving into care and maintenance, For our industry, as much as the goddess loves silver, for our industry, the kinds of mines we need to watch are primary gold mines and ones that are a decent size, and polymetallics, the big copper guys, because the majority of our silver is coming out of those polymetallic mines as a byproduct, a co-product. It's not coming out of primary silver mines. And the majority of the gold that we tend to be interested in is coming out of large primary gold mines that have other metals as co-product and byproduct. There were several news articles this week that indicated that some new advances in the development and manufacture of solar panels are going to, first of all, very, very marginally increase the efficiency of solar panels. But more to the point, they're going to greatly cut down the production time on solar panels. So, one article I read was saying that we went from the first solar panels to our current infant state of green utopia in like 30, 40 years. We're going to move to the next level of green utopia within the next 5 years. And at the moment, that means we need a whole lot more silver and copper than we're getting right now. But with the rising energy costs, with the rising regulatory costs, with the rising unrest civilly and politically worldwide due to the worldwide recession, it's going to get to be a very tough mining environment, not just for the big guys. It's going to be a tougher mining environment for little guys like us because we have a regulatory environment that is very unfriendly. We have rising fuel costs, and unlike the big guys, we can't just buy a year's worth of fuel and lock in a price 2 years in advance, most of us. We have rising chemical costs. When you can find your chemicals, good luck with that. We have a whole variety of costs that the big guys have, but we do not have the capex resources, the cushions, the lines of credit, or the stocks we can pimp out in the casino known as Wall Street that the big guys have. So it's important to keep an eye on your mining news. And as we are saying here in Montana, it is important to ensure that your claims are perfected. Read your state regulations. Go out and check your dang monuments. Check your dang paperwork. Make sure your claims are perfected and valid. So that if you do get claim jumpers in your area, and this is a scam that is going to blow up and get worse as the recession deepens, you are protected. I don't know how well some of the mining companies are protecting themselves. That is one reason why, if you're planning to invest in a mining stock, take a very close look at the land status of the areas these companies are mining. I love First Majestic, okay? Keith, the dude who runs First Majestic, is an amazing proponent for silver. The products they make are fantastic. They're beautiful. They also have a great deal of Forest Service property. And they thought that it was a miracle and they celebrated getting permission to do a drilling program of 1,720 holes on 17,000 hectares of land. If you're sitting on government land, as we are, as a lot of these mining companies are, there is nothing to stop policy from changing and telling you, okay, you need to leave. So we need to start becoming proactive. And we need to start making it clear to our Congress critters and our state governments and lobbying to get protections and get coherent land use policies, coherent legislation to replace regulation. Because otherwise, we are in the same position with our mining claims, and these big guys are in the same position with their mining claims as some poor idiot who bought PSLV stock and figures he's going to get his physical silver delivered someday. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. Bye.
Artie, Keith, what do you got in the plastic slab? It's a fake gold coin. This is like gold-plated copper. It's
My
a good
decoy coin.
It's a decoy coin, supposedly.
Gotta have a decoy box.
Anyhow, by the way, I saw,
pretty.
AKA Shaggy was leaving, and I thought, wow, he could do like AKA, and that would be so cool. But oh well. Anyhow, yeah, my concern is that if the government controls it, they can do whatever they want with it. Okay. No matter what the law says, this, yeah, Chris, terrible, aren't I? This administration has shown no interest whatsoever in whatever the law says, whatever the Constitution says, whatever the Supreme Court says. They just do what they want. I see no reason to believe they won't just continue that activity. Oh, well, no, the Earth's going to end in 2,700 years, and therefore we need to take every right you've got. I just don't trust them as far as I can throw them, and Washington, D.C. is awfully heavy. So, yeah. I don't trust the government either. I also like it when you say, well, we got a claim jumper. And they're like, and? It's not our job. Oh, really? You're the people who keep all the records. Not our job. Get a lawyer. Go to court. What was a lawsuit like this going to take? 1-2 years? What the heck? Especially if it's an LLC, then what are you going to get? Say, unless you can file some kind of criminal charges, which I don't see happening right away. There's going to be a lot of criminal charges, I have a feeling, flying around here shortly. It's going to get interesting. My opinion is that it's going to get real interesting right around the election, because no matter how it turns out, there's going to be a lot of upset people. Is there a price point that your claim owner needs or wants to stay above? He just doesn't want to sell it. The people that had the claim first, that person doesn't want to sell. Now, if somebody wants to come and offer him a bunch of money, he might be interested in it. But I say it's going to be interesting to see what happens if, in fact, this other person has sold the claim to somebody, and then they, come up and, okay, Chris, in terms of the claim owner price point of gold, it's not so much the price point of gold, it's the grade of the ore. If the price drops in half, but the grade doubles, it doesn't matter. You're in the same place. So it's a matter of he would like to achieve economic break even. And currently, labor is his biggest cost. So efficiency and grade are the two big things that they can improve. One other thing that we really need to do is come up with a good method of getting the gold out of the resin and or getting it out of the solution with something besides resin. Yeah. Eva was also talking to me today on the trip to Missoula about why would you heap leach versus tank leach or whatever. And if anyone wants me to discuss that in a little more detail, just say so. And I'll give a little primer as to why you would use one processing technique over another and why you would use one mining technique over another, things like that. It's all based on the final profit in terms of what's the most economically efficient means of getting your valuable mineral. But I'd say that's basically what it all comes down to for the big boys. Now, for small people like us, there may be other secondary motivations which are pretty strong. Um, for example, with the exception of Jim and Jeff Kablock, I don't know if anyone here has made actual money mining. I mean, has turned a profit on a project. How about you, Chris? Have you turned a profit on any mining projects? Um, and it's we enjoy the challenge and stuff like that. But quick profit. That's for the guys who trade mining claims. Yeah. That's what I was thinking, Lars. Just guessing. I know we haven't yet, although I think that we've learned a tremendous amount, which has a value with respect to this Eco Goldex solution. And I think that has a lot of value. And also things like the material handling and the mining and this and that and the other. It gives us a lot better idea what we can do, what we can't do. And when somebody shows up with something that we may either find another property or they find out with a project and say, hey, would you like to joint venture? Would you like to lease this from me or something like that? We'll have a much better idea of what we can realistically do. And that's really important. Yeah? As a wise man once said, a man has to know his limitations. And that's very, very true. It can't be wishful thinking, although it can be a hobby. But you need to know your limitations so that you can determine what situation you need in order to turn a profit considering those limitations. And I'll say this is one of the things that we're just, working on. It's complicated stuff. And. Oh, and then you get other stuff too, like, and this is unfortunate, but of the people out there watching, how many are over 50 and how many are under 50? Now that means a lot in terms of what you can physically accomplish. It also may mean a lot in terms of what you physically need to do to pay the bills. Personally, even I have found that being poor has its advantages. You know, the problem with having a lot of stuff like a house, two cars, this, that, and the other. Okay, we're 50-50 at the moment here, and that's kind of funny pun too. But when you have a lot of stuff, you need to have a very Artie, me too, David, exactly. You need to have a constant stream of money coming in order to keep your stuff. And as you get older, depending upon what you've done, Like Chris Ralph says that he makes over $10,000 a month, basically residuals. These are things where he got into projects and got a percentage of the project. You bet, Goldpan. But that's the thing, that by cutting your expenses, you now have a whole lot less requirements, which gives you some freedom to try things, do things, like this weekend. I wasn't feeling too well, didn't feel up to a full scale mining trip. So we just went out and did something fairly fun. I agree, Jeff. I think as you get older, the routine stuff just gets routine. And it's like something different. What can I do to make my life better, more interesting, more enjoyable, make me want to get up in the morning? And um, that's kind of what Eva has encouraged me to do, and we've managed to accomplish here. How have you? I'm getting better. I don't know, Dan, if you know, last week, yeah, it was about what, 10 days ago, I went in the hospital for a kidney infection. I was there 3 days. Antibiotics seem to be working. I'm feeling better and getting stronger, and things like that. And so seem to be okay, but it's frustrating to have to take it off, take time off of hard work because of your health. And I mean, I'm old enough that if I screw up, it could get bad, and we certainly don't want that. So I have to be careful, um, but I don't want to sit around in a chair. It doesn't feel good. Hey, Rusty. Yep. So what do we got now? Only one underneath 50 at this point, I believe. See, that's another thing in this business. The people who are actually out in the field tend to be older people. I'm not sure all the reasons for that, but it seems to be an established reality. And that creates a situation where you got people who may know how to do stuff, but may not be physically able to do certain things, like me. I missed a couple weeks early part of the season because of nosebleeds. Missed another couple weeks just now because of a kidney infection. Well, that wouldn't have happened 20 years ago. And that's very, very frustrating and annoying. It really is. And I say we got other stuff. Thanks, Tricky. I really appreciate the information. We should be able to get to it in the next couple of weeks. This week may be totally screwed up because my brother and her wife are visiting. So that may really throw a lot of stuff into a few day hiatus. We got a full batch cooking in the a tank, but that's about it right now. Goldstream, you're 400 years old, huh? Wow, that Mercurian years? I'm confused. um, but yeah, it's very, very annoying to me. The weakness of my body. But you get older. My mind isn't what it used to be. My body's not what it used to be. Although I am down to 184 pounds. But yeah, both Lauren and Jim are stronger than I am. That's cool. It really is. I'm usually like one of the strongest guys around, whatever. And met guys that are stronger than me. And I mean, Lauren's not a spring chicken. Jim's not a spring chicken. But Okay, so we got 2 under 50 now. We've also got not sure at 39. So how much time do Gold Pan Dan and Not Sure get to spend out in the field prospecting, mining, metal detecting, et cetera, et cetera? That's the question. You see, I can spend 6 days a week.
We could spend longer than that.
Well, we really need about 1 day a week just to get the laundry done, buy groceries and things like that. But by having minimal minimal expenses, minimal requirements, it allows us a lot more flexibility. So that's refreshing. I spent a lot of time trying to get rich so I'd have freedom. And I found out I get freedom by not being rich. Peculiar.
Well, of course.
Seems almost like Zen or Buddhist or something like that.
It's a quantum thing, dude.
Goldstream's out in the field right now for a couple more days. Yeah, but you actually get paid to be there. So that's a little different than most of these guys. But that's nice because if you found what you like to do and you turn it into a job, you never work a day in your life. You know? And so that's kind of what we're trying to do here.
By the way,
What?
the keto peanut butter cups are good, and so are the keto caramel clusters.
She likes the low sugar candies. Are you kidding me, Goldstream? I thought you worked for big companies. You do this for free? Somehow I'm a bit suspicious of this concept. Now, Jim spent, 5 years establishing his stuff. Roughly 3 to 4 times a month. I used to go out 2 to 3 times a week before I got married. Well, of course you work for yourself, Goldstream. Oh, I know what I was mistaken. I was thinking of Rock Butcher instead of Goldstream. I apologize to both of you. You work for myself, yeah. But again, if you enjoy life and you get paid enough to do what you want to do, that's adequate. Yeah, Dan, when you get married, it changes things. Luckily, Eva's as excited to go out in the field as I am, sometimes more. Perhaps that's because I do the heavy work.
Noted that I'm the one that told you to pursue this dream in the first place. Hello.
Already mentioned it. Ha ha. Like when I suggested we go up there and help with that cabin this weekend, she's like, yeah. So it's important to get someone that works well with what you like to do too. If you don't, it's a constant fight. Yeah, Goldstream. In the case,
if it weren't for me, you'd still be doing kettle corn.
Yeah. In the case of Lauren, he's doing construction. Jim's doing construction and stuff. And Jim is more able to do stuff where he wants to do it than Lauren. But I'd say we have fun nevertheless. But, work on making your life happy. Right now, it's a little troubling. Cool, not sure. Oh, you betcha, Dan. Yeah, she's in there all the way. Hey, Keith. Good, Keith. I hope things work out. You're a good guy.
Hi, Keith. What's he up to?
Yeah, he's getting a blood wellness test. Our insurance should pay for it. He gets the results tomorrow and start the blood therapy.
Okay.
Debate about going. All 3 bosses say I'm dumb to go. 4 days might break even, might make money on longer trips. Um, I would. Okay, we'll see how it works out, Keith. Right now, I'm busy as can be. Um, Jeff, can you do it without burning any bridges behind you? If so, why not give it a shot? Um, Again, also, this is not a normal time, though. I think the unpredictability factor is off the scale, and the insecurity factor is very, very high right now. So just keep that in mind, especially like with Dan, you have a wife. Some of you have kids. I know Rock Butcher has a youngster, things like that. Those kind of responsibilities are serious. You need to take care of those first, but maybe you can take care of everything and make it work out. So I say that's about it. And the big life experience advice here. We did get some good information on uh, extracting the gold from the resin, which we'll be testing. We're also going to do a real small um, test on some zinc precipitation, see if that seems to work out well. Since we haven't found anything that works superbly, there's no reason not to look at other potential options on the cheap. And things like the electrowinning out of the resin, yeah, we can set that up for $50. Not that hard. Um, and give it a shot. If it works out well, it also has the advantage, theoretically, according to Richard, of being able to reuse the resin, which is always a positive, especially in those days of iffy supply chains. Oh my goodness. Um, this is some weird, weird times we're living through here. Absolutely. And it's very annoying to me that you can't trust hardly any information sources. That makes it so much harder to figure out what's going on, and therefore so much harder to figure out um, which way to jump. Just annoys the crap out of me. Uh, but such is life. Anyhow, so that's about it. I'm getting better. We should go back mining this weekend. We've got not enough ore for another batch out at the ranch, so no plans on dumping the current batch we have and starting a new one. Wonder how much pregnant solution we have in the preg tank. I think was it pretty full?
Yeah, it was pretty full.
I think it was pretty full. Yeah. Now that's also going to have a low concentration going through the resin simply because we got a lot of rain and there's rain dilution. So we'll have to take that into account. Um, when we sample the solution after a batch, when I dump the batch out onto the pad, that's when we take the sample right there. About a ton or a little bit more, Dan. Um, Depends on a number of factors, but that trailer is pretty stuffed with buckets, usually about 60, 63 buckets, probably averaging 35 to 40 pounds each. And 65 times 40 is 2,600 pounds. 62 times 35 is 2,170. So over a ton, call it a ton and a quarter, maybe somewhere around in there at the most. It's a single axle trailer. It's got other stuff on it too. So there's only so much you can do. Plus we're hauling it with an old 76 Chevy pickup truck that, doesn't have the, turbo diesel and all this other stuff. So say we have certain limitations. And that is correct, Dan. About 1,500 pounds per batch is what we're running right now. trying to build up a little stockpile so when things happen like what just did, it's not a huge interruption in the processing. But it's going to be interesting to see how the weather holds out. In theory, we can mine in weather that's colder than what we can process. We have to shut the mill down at a certain point because of freezing. Pipes will freeze, other things will freeze, bad things are going to happen. So basically what we have to do is at a certain point, we have to let evaporation take its course, dump the tanks into the pond, make sure there's no gold left in the solution. And in certain cases, like that conical bottom tank, I'm also planning on laying it on its side so the water doesn't just kind of run down the bottom and then break the fittings down there. But once it gets too cold, we just cannot mill. However, as long as there's not a lot of snow, there's no reason we can't haul more ore and stockpile it. I mean, we started this year, I don't know, well over a ton of stockpiled ore, doing tests at 500-pound batches, I think it was?
Yeah.
Something like that. So we got quite a bit of testing done and tuning before we could even get back to the mine. And then, of course, I had my damn nosebleeds. But we're trying to stockpile ore and process ore and load resin as much as possible until the weather closes in. Then we have to shut down the mill. We have to evacuate all the liquids that can freeze from the laboratory area. That's the plan, Dan. Exactly. And then in the wintertime, the idea is to spend our time testing various methods of getting the gold out of the resin and trying to refine that so that we have the whole system figured out by next spring when we're ready to go. But that's why this whole extraction from resin thing has not been the number one priority. That plus there's a lot of really smart people working on this other places. So rather than spend a lot of valuable time doing that, we've been spending the time basically mining, milling. Well, they'd be little bars. I mean, let's see. Is that grams? Yeah, that's grams. That's better than an ounce. Depends on how good a grade we can get going this fall. More we're going to be pouring beads. But again, it's research and development. It sucks because you're not making money. You're losing money. Luckily, the claim owner is he's businessman enough to know that you got to invest, and sometimes you're lucky and you don't have to invest much to make a lot, and other times you got to invest a whole bunch to make a modest profit. Hopefully we'll get it somewhere in between there, but he also understands the value of knowing systems, having equipment, having procedures and such, so that when another opportunity shows up, you can jump on it. Depends on the ore grade and tonnage at Montana B. Good night, David. You take care. And I like that so much.
Good night, David.
Anyhow, does anyone have any questions or anything? I'm just kind of rambling on here, probably getting boring. And Lauren, if you're still out there, I've got a doctor's appointment at 9:30 in the morning, so I may not make it out there right away. Okay. I'll see what happens when I get up and a few other little things, but I may. Oh, look, it's working again. What? YouTube? So I say maybe, 10 or 11. I'm going to try and head out there early, make the vehicle swap, maybe help you out a little bit, and then come back in for the doctor's appointment. That's 9:30, I'm pretty sure. Okay, Lauren, and thank you very much for the car. Say we never would have made it in time without it. Yeah, 9:30.
Yeah, that really cool luxury vehicle.
Oh, what's cool? The air conditioner was working.
What's a luxury vehicle? It's got heated seats and a working radio.
You get enough pavers down where I can start slicing and dicing, Lauren? You got a string line laid out for me? You get the string line laid out. I can probably cut pavers about as fast as you can lay the rest of the field, or maybe a little faster.
Don't forget to fill up the gas tank again before you take that vehicle back.
Yes, I know. Does it Julianne? Who said the slicing and dicing? I don't know. I'm confused. Okay. Lauren says he'll be ready for me then. Yeah, the carving those pavers sucks. We went to Missoula today, Ali. We were there. The report on Eva seems to be good. No signs of the cancer coming back. So that's really good news. But say we got to cross our fingers here for another couple of years. I think I'm pretty gone from the kidney cancer thing. I mean, that was like 12 years ago. No signs of a recurrence. I think they got that one. Also, mine was one that's usually pretty easily removed and doesn't tend to come back. But yep, absolutely, Gold Pan. Yeah, it was. It's not. It's very distressing to think of not having her. You know. We try, Ollie. Be nice if your mill was underground so it didn't. You can put them in a building too. Most of the mines up here will have a mill building that's insulated and can be heated and things like that. But that's beyond the scope of our project at this point. So we will see what happens. And there's things like with just a modest amount of ingenuity, you can recover a lot of waste heat from a generator. That exhaust pours out a lot of heat that you can recover and put into the solution and things like that. So there's a lot of ways you can play the game, but right now we're too busy doing other stuff to worry about that. Those are the sort of things that are generally done during the winter time up here, building stuff and coming up with new ideas, modifications, and this and that and the other. But yeah, there are ways of doing these things. I'm also not sure exactly what the freezing point is on this solution because it's not pure water, so it's going to be below 32 degrees. Not sure how low. It's a good question that we should probably resolve sometime. Yeah, that's another thing too. We could go with just a straight heater. That's what Lauren has for his big shop. But we already have a generator running. And say that might provide sufficient heat to add, who knows, a couple weeks to our thing. I mean, we're running we got what? Running maybe 5,000 watts of electricity, figuring it's a gasoline engine, you're getting maybe 25% efficiency. So we're generating somewhere in the neighborhood of roughly 15,000 watts of waste heat, you know, on a consistent basis. 15 kilowatt hours per hour is a lot of heat. So with a little bit of insulation, either a building or like an insulating blanket for the tailings pile and the pond, things like that, I think you could extend the season quite a bit. It tends to start oscillating where it's dipping below freezing and coming up above freezing for a long time, for months. You get these times where it's getting below freezing at night, but hardly ever is it below freezing during the day. Oh, I'm thinking wrapping the exhaust with water tubing, like they do on a dredge. Yeah, I don't know what the recovery percentage would be, but I bet you could recover somewhere in the neighborhood of half of it without too much trouble. And oh, come on, Chris. Long pipe, lots of tubing, insulating jacket. Greenhouses are fairly cheap. Yes, that's a possibility too. I say there's lots of possibilities. Some of the areas around here even have geothermal aquifers that you could maybe use. Just pump a circuit of that where you're pumping it out of the ground and then re-injecting it back into the ground. Don't know, but we got lots of fun things to do this winter. I am very disappointed in the overall production, although I'm not disappointed in our level of effort. I mean, we've lost 4 weeks, so that's 4 tons right there of material. And say the grade has been lately about half what we were anticipating at this point, probably due to dilution, most of which we should be able to dramatically decrease now. It is a lot cheaper to dump the waste rock over the dump than it is to fill buckets, haul them to the mill, crush them, and leach them. And so if we can reliably determine just by looking at it, okay, that goes over the dump, we should be able to focus our efforts more efficiently on hauling ore. Up to this point, it wouldn't have made a huge amount of difference in overall production, although it might have made an improvement in efficiency and therefore profitability. But as the vein looks like it's getting wider, etc., with any luck, we'll be able to dramatically improve the mining and transportation efficiency. So the mill is getting a much better grade product at the same volume. Yeah. So that could work out, Dan. There's a guy in Nebraska who grows oranges all year long with a type of geothermal where he just recirculates air through a pipe in the ground 8 feet deep, keeps a constant temperature of roughly 50 degrees. Yep, there's all kinds of ways to play this game. And let's say I don't know what's the best, but in order to pump the water, we would have to have a generator anyhow. So we're generating heat there. I say it's lots of interesting things. Now, in terms of layers of glass, Chris, I'm thinking just the equivalent of bubble wrap, swimming pool insulating blankets, something like that. I bet you would do a fairly good job and be pretty easy to use. Yeah, but unless you're going to pour a lot of water out onto the ground, which is then going to freeze sooner or later, you need to re-inject it also, Chris. So, as I don't know. There's lots of possibilities. We'll skin that cat when it claws at the door. Until then, we got plenty to stay busy with.
We'll skin that cat when it claws at the door.
Yeah, why not? I'm mixing, matching, and uglifying metaphors to the max.
Dude, you are seriously disturbed.
Probably. Yeah, you can use thermosiphon and stuff. Yeah, the transportation costs for the ore would get substantial, though. Yep. I mean, heck, around here, some of these mines, they ship the ore to Cornwall, England for processing in the 1800s. Now, you bet they were being very selective in which ore they picked. I mean, they had to, I think it was overland to the Missouri River. When it was running high enough, then they could take it all the way down the Missouri to like New Orleans, load it on a freighter and haul it. Oh, it's just ridiculous what they had to do. But that shows you how rich some of it was when they were shipping it across the ocean in the 1800s and still making a profit. You know? So I say it's one of those things that we just look at everything and go with the flow. Yeah, it is pretty crazy, Dan, but that's what provides the motivation for somebody to build a smelter locally. Hello, Adam. How's it going? Kind of winding down about now. Do you have any questions or anything? Want to bring up a new subject and stir the pot? Oh, let me check on something.
Hi, Adam.
Let me check on something just for jollies here. Wow, the Oath Keeper's attorney exchanged emails with Rudy Giuliani about election fraud. Ooh.
Good Lord.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, building a log cabin for a base camp got 239 views in the last day. And Patrick left a comment that I haven't replied to.
Bad bear.
No, it came in while we were gone. Curious. This is what gets me. It says, where is my subscriber thing here? Manage videos, I think. Analytics, playlists, dashboard, analytics. Let's see. It says, and I quote, 19.1 thousand subscribers. 1.7 thousand less than, no, that's views. Okay, so 19,000 views, similar to the 20.8 thousand to 78.4 thousand it usually gets in 20 days. Okay, so where's my subscribers? 19,672 subscribers. And yet, I just uploaded something yesterday and it's got 239 views. Now, that tells me that a lot of those are inactive subscribers, which doesn't surprise me or disappoint me a whole lot, just makes it interesting. Where does gold come from? Got 320 views in the last 48 hours. What else we got here? How to find load gold, got 80 views. Hand panning microfine, 62. Hand panning microfine gold, 99, 54. Top 10 killers, 33.
Yeah. So about normal.
So how fast is microfine taking representative samples? Yeah, as I say, it's one of those things that clearly there are a lot of what you would call inactive subscribers where they're keeping it on the list for maybe advertising purposes or whatever, but they're not there.
Oh, that's fine.
What is a shear fracture? That would be when things move past each other, you know, as opposed to a tensile fracture or like that. Is that base camp close to the mine? It is not close to my mine. It is very close to Jim's mining claims that he has sold. Low angle thrust fault. Yeah, that's one. Low angle thrust fault is like this, but it's a kind of a shear. Yeah, say shear just means this, one moving next to another. This would be a tensile fracture. You can have compression fractures. You can also have a tension, and then the block will drop as you now have a gap, and it can fall into that. But yeah, that's what shear is. Shear is side to side. Rotational block, yeah. You can have that. You can also have rotational failure. If you have like a cliff and it slumps, it'll usually leave a semicircular surface like this because it actually goes kind of like that instead of like this, generally. Lots of things can, yeah, see, kidney infection, nosebleed. Yeah, lots of things things can fail. Absolutely. Circulation to delicate parts of anatomy. Yeah, lots of things. Anyhow. Oh, and yeah, I probably ought to get that part that I need to get tomorrow first. Let me put that on my first of things to do. And then I've got doctor at 9:30. East entrance. And Randy. And then our usual stuff. And then we'll play it by ear from there. We don't need to go out to the mill tomorrow because that an extra SPOF. Not sure, Chris. You got me on the acronym there. Yeah, blind dude. We usually are on here 3 to 4 hours. Single point of failure, huh? Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying, Jeff. Somehow I've annoyed the YouTube gods 1 or 2 times, and so they're keeping me small, which keeps me where I can get more personal, which is good. 238, that's better I've ever done it. Yep. 144, that's more like a good game for me. Anyhow, so anything else, anybody? I do have to get up in the morning. I think I'm gonna put the alarm a little earlier. Let's see here. Maybe alarm. Okay, I'll set one for 7 too. Get up at 7, get out the door by 8. That'll get things done and get me over to the doctor's in time. Oh. That's funny, Keith. And get truck. Man.
Yeah, we also have to see about if we can come up with an arrangement to get a more long-term vehicle loan from somebody.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're always here, same bat time, same bat channel, Jeff. I think he's been here a couple times, blind dude. He's a pretty busy character too, and he doesn't specialize in hard rock, so it was nice seeing him, but I think it's been like 2, maybe 3 times at the most. But yeah, that's cool. Very successful playing the YouTube game, which is great.
Oh, Jeff Williams was here?
No, he's not here, but he was blind dude was asking about before. Dan Hurd, no. I don't think I've ever seen Dan here. We have a lot of people with small channels. What do you think, Chris? Anybody with a what you would call a fairly big mining channel besides Jeff? Not sure. Nothing comes to mind. I mean, like Goldstream and Rock Butcher.
Wizards comes around now and then.
Yeah, Flower Gold Wizards. He shows up regularly.
Yeah.
He's doing a good job playing the YouTube algorithms. Doing a good job.
I love his channel.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. It all depends on what you want to do, blind dude. I like the information we provide and the forum that we provide, and but it's not what most people do, and as such, it's not going to be the most popular, which is fine. I'm very happy with that. And
we have a good community.
Yeah, I say we have a nice community.
We don't need a big community.
What about Mount Baker? Not sure how big he is. He's been around a while, so he might have a lot of subscribers and stuff. Now he's pretty close to what we do in some ways. We have a lot of overlap with Mount Baker.
And they make good equipment.
Yes, Lars, your channel may be, but you are not. Yep. He shows up from time to time, blind dude. Yeah, he's what's his name? Jason the Mason.
Yeah.
That's right. He's a bricklayer by trade. Yep. And nice guy. I say he's playing the algorithms, and he's doing a pretty good job of it. And I think he does a pretty good job of teaching too, which is good. Unfortunately, I don't know if you guys heard, but Canadian gold prospector lost his son this week. For those of you who aren't subscribed or whatever, so that's a very sad thing. And there's a number of Australian guys. You're thinking, no, not Grubernad. Busted Knuckles Prospecting. He's got a reasonably good channel.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to like Adventure Gold, but apparently he's got stage 4 cancer now. He was also a very good teacher on the placer front. So that's another loss we're probably going to have to deal with here shortly. I thought he had a pretty good channel too. Maximum principal comprehensive stress versus minimum principal stress affect a rock. That's the kind of rock dynamics that is beyond my pay grade. Yeah, that's true, Blind Tooth. That's right. The gold lady and her husband were also murdered. Um,
Yeah, they were Jeff Williams's friends.
yeah, I say that's a sad thing when you get to know, uh, people even just over the internet. I mean, never met Jet Bybee, seen Chris, Adam Anderson, nope. Blind Dude, nope. Uh, Lars, yep, met Lars.
We
Gold
met
Pan Dan,
Adam.
no.
We met Adam, didn't we?
Adam Anderson sounds familiar. Have we met Adam? Sounds familiar.
We met I Break for Bedrock, who was here earlier.
He says no, not yet. Yeah, I Break for Bedrock. That's another good one. He's here on a fairly regular basis.
He was here earlier.
He was earlier tonight. Yep. And I think he's got a good channel. And nice guy.
I love what he's
I've
doing.
met him personally and stuff.
I may not like Arizona, but I like what he was doing down there.
Yeah. Two Toes, never met Two Toes. Not sure, never met, not sure. So, but you have a community. And I think being able to see someone on video makes it more personal. There's more of a connection there, or at least a perceived connection. Like, oh gosh, Gruber Ned.
Yeah.
First time I saw a Gruber Ned video, it's like, that's not how I visualize Gruber Ned, And now I've got a picture. I can hear his voice, his intonation, the way he does stuff.
Or like when Lauren ran into you on the causeway.
That was fun. That was fun when Lauren ran into me on the causeway. I've had a couple other people who have seen my channel and stuff that I've run into and such. But yeah, that's funny. I'm just out there fishing. And now, if you've never seen Lauren, you got to understand this guy is very emotional and expressive and stuff,
And energetic and a totally cool person.
Yeah, he's got a lot of energy and stuff. And I'm just sitting there fishing. And this guy, never seen him before, stops his truck, jumps out and goes, "Keith Bowen, Hard Rock University, how the hell are you?" Yeah, and it was great. But yeah, that was kind of funny. Okay, Lars met Gold Miner last weekend. I mean,
well, Lars has met Lauren and Jim and me and.
Oh yeah, I'd say Lauren he's a very unique person. He's got a lot of energy, very expressive,
and mad skills and an amazing shop.
Yeah, he's got an amazing shop. Agreed. Mad skills. He knows how to do a lot of stuff. And yeah, well, Eva likes to say, "This is my bear. He's an internationally famous YouTube celebrity," which is kind of accurate. Gruber Ned's, in Australia, and Richard's in the Philippines, and Javier is in
Rock Butchers in Canada,
Colombia, Rock Butchers in Canada.
Still.
I say I like.
Canada's probably very happy they're not part of the U.S. at the moment.
I mean, I think we have a great community here. The kind of people who like this channel, the live streams and stuff like that, they tend to get along well with each other, and I really think that's something special. Uh, I really think y'all are special, and I appreciate it. And there's been a couple times where y'all have come through for me too. Not often that I've needed help, but whenever I've needed help, I got help, and so that's an interesting phenomenon too, because I've basically been kind of an involuntary loner all my life. You know, well, a joint in a rock, Adam, has no displacement. It's just a crack. Whereas a shear fracture will generally have some displacement. That would be called a fault in most cases. You're a loner, a rebel. Yeah, I don't know if I'm so much a rebel as I'm just odd. Not odd as in really weird, but just odd as in not.
I could kind of, I could dispute that. You have your downright weird moments.
Um, Maybe. I mean, I look at things a little differently than most people. Oh, yeah, Chris. Uh huh. Man, you missed the other joke there too. But um, yeah, it's just one of those things that, to me, there you go, blind dude. You got it. Uh, Probably, Adam. That would be my guess. Either that or more likely tensional, I would think. Rock is much weaker in tension. I'm not sorry, blind. I'm surprised Chris didn't get that one. Ooh, Pat, you got high score for the night. He said oddball. That very good. Yeah, Pat's high score for the night on testicle jokes, definitely. Yeah, I've always looked at other people and gone like, why are they behaving like that? You know?
Because they're nuts.
Um,
It's quite simple.
and it just, a lot of stuff people do doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, let's go out and get so drunk we forget what happens. Why don't you go to sleep? You wind up with the same result, no hangover, and likely no injuries and no diseases, So I say that party till you puke. Huh? Why? Again, never made any sense to me. I don't understand it. If I want to party, I want to party till I'm having a good time and can remember it the next day and don't feel like crap. In my younger days, I smoked some marijuana. It's like, okay, I don't get a hangover and it's fun. You know? Yes, Chris, every good plan needs a scapegoat. Absolutely. Um, but yeah, again, I look at people and I go, huh? Why are they doing that? Also negative coin. Joints form parallel to compression or perpendicular to compression? Okay, I can see how a coin purse would do that. Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. But anyhow, I say most of the people here are a bit odd also. You know?
Well, considering everybody else is terminally insane, being odd is actually a good thing.
Being odd is more sane than most people, huh?
Yep.
Possibly.
Have you taken a look at the world lately?
Yeah, generally you have parallel veins when the stresses in the rock tend to create cracks in a parallel manner. They can be parallel to compression or they can be parallel to tension too. If something is pulled apart, it may break in spots. I believe that one, Lars. I'll go with that. Yeah, I'm not the geophysicist. That's right. Every good plan needs a scapegoat, and the first law of bureaucracy is admit nothing, deny everything, and demand proof. Huh. A quote. On the mesas in the southlands and the tundras in the north, you will find us changed in face, but still the same. About prospectors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to a great extent.
Well, it takes a certain personality to be attracted to this, not as a wallet miner.
Okay. Horizontal veins, Lars. First of all, you can have the same kind of tensional stuff that does whatever, parallel thing. It can be in any dimension. You can have weaknesses between strata, but also there's something called a low angle thrust fault. You're going to have a lot of them where you're at, Southern California. So you get one mass pushing up against another, it'll break on a shallow angle, and one will thrust up over the other. And that will tend to be a fairly flat lying surface, typically in the 10-15 degree range. And that thrust fault can go very deep to where it gets good access to geothermal fluids and such like that, and allow that conduit to pipe them up to the lower depths, the higher elevations, where they can precipitate out. Oh. Well, if you guys keep talking just a minute, I'll be back. Okay. Not yet, Chris. Yes, blind dude, it certainly can. The different layers form under different circumstances. at different times, and there's no reason why it wouldn't. That's why they have the phrase false bedrock. You know, do you think the value of metals next year will rise? I'm not making any predictions on next year right now, Jeff. We're looking like possibly on the edge of World War III, major worldwide economic
We'll have a
restructuring.
better idea
Who
after
knows?
the election when we find out whether we're in a recession or not.
Yeah. Yeah, blind dude. I say it. That makes perfect sense. One of those layers might have been from a major flood event that just didn't quite scour all the way to the bedrock, but moved a lot of gold. That's why you don't assume, you just test. Because the rule of thumb is there is no rule of thumb. Yeah, just check each layer, see where the gold is, try and figure out what is associated with it, if there is anything that's associated with it, where you can go other places in the same stream and follow it, something like that. Absolutely. Some kind of an indicator that's easier to see than the gold itself. Makes sense, blind dude. Find gold where gold's been found before in general. You rarely find much gold where nobody's found it before because people have been looking all over the place. Unless you're in someplace like Greenland. I would imagine even like the Canadian Shield has been pretty well prospected. I don't know. Yeah. It's really hard to tell how these things happen. Yeah, you can have clay layers, sometimes a boulder layer that's hard to move. It may get kind of cemented together or whatever. It'll form a good riffles and false bedrock too for anything that's not energetic enough to move those boulders. It's hard to tell. Again, there's no rule of thumb. It's where you find it. Look everywhere carefully and go from there. That's why a gold pan is so handy, especially when you're placer mining. Not so much useful for what I'm doing. This stuff I'm doing is just annoyingly fine. That's right, Patrick. Trust no one, cry no tears. Oh. Yeah, another thing, blind dude, don't even trust yourself. Double check. Well, it seems to me that, okay, well, if it wasn't, what would you need to check? You know, it's easy to avoid something. If you think you know what's going on, and say, well, there's nothing there. With me, it was this in this vein. I'm looking at this kryptonite that's got light iron stuff in it. It's like, well, you know, the quartz with the heavy iron had good gold. This might have something. What's that black stuff? I don't know, but it looks heavily mineralized. All crap. All of it. The only thing that was running good was the real rich iron oxides near the decline. Near the ladder track, not so much. That was the surprising one. It's like, this looks superficially very similar. It's the same continuous structure. Not hardly any gold in there. Well, let's see. That's some pretty rich stuff there, if I'm not mistaken. 40 times 0.150. That's 6 grams per cubic yard. $300 a cubic yard. That's pretty damn good placer, dude. Uh, uh, Good night, Dan. You take care. Take care of the wife and kids, too. That's your number one priority. Well, Adam, what determines joint spacing? The stresses, the uh, the weaknesses, and for example, if you had large strata that were discontinuing, there's a discontinuity between strata, then they're gonna, um, go ahead and tend to break on those discontinuities in general. Oh, Lars, nice one. Not against me, but that's a nice one. Lars says joint spacing is dependent on how tight you can roll them. but about every 5 minutes, dude, that stuff you guys got in California, about 2 hits and I'm laying on the floor having trouble moving. Okay. Or at least that was my last experience a couple decades ago. Oh, well, we're almost at the 4-hour mark. Anyone else got anything interesting? Those are some good questions, Adam. So that's exactly what kind of helps keep things going. The pressure, the ground movement, things like that. I mean, if the ground is really moving and bending and things like that, you're going to get a lot more spacing. But again, those are going to tend to be more faults rather than joints. That's cool, Adam. Let's say if you're finishing your homework and you're asking questions, other people are learning. That's fantastic. Good for you, Adam. Oh. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, nothing significant in the emails. Yeah, that's true. Temperatures and especially gets, is it brittle or is it ductile? Well, you guys, been another fun live stream. Don't know when Jim's going to be back. If anyone has a question for Jim specifically, if you let me know, I'll go ahead and try and get a hold of him and ask him. And then go and get it back to you. Who's the log cabin for? I believe it's the project manager that's going to be working on the uh, big block of claims there for a significant size mining company. Jim got some kind of a TV deal. That was a one-off. And yes, they did an episode for a TV show. Not sure if I'm supposed to say anything more than that, so I won't. But yeah, it wasn't a continuing thing. It was just a single episode, and the mine was actually his friend's mine. But he had a good time doing that. Yeah, Pat, sounds good to me. Yeah, once I get more information and I can release it, I will. I'll let you know about it. Okay. I don't even know if it's embargoed at this point, but if I don't know, I can't say. So, but yeah, the log cabin is up in the again. It's kind of I think it's the project manager's place, and they're going to build a barracks down there for the geologists and field people and such. I think there's 4 geologists going to be showing up in October to do stuff while they can. Yeah, you just got to learn how to make more of them, Pat. What can I say? He's just too busy. Oh. Good, Adam. Oh, Arbuckle Formation, Oklahoma, huh? Good luck on that. Learn some stuff. Hope you have a good instructor. Okay, anything else out there? Chris, you got Google. Of course, you may have lousy internet. By the way, everybody, Chris's house is still standing. So that is good news. Apparently, they were able to keep the fire away from Forest Hill until things kind of died down. So, as I say, most of Forest Hill is still there, and that includes Chris's house. Night, Lars. You take care. Okay, everybody. I think I'm going to call it a night. So, y'all take care. Have a good week. Keep it safe and try and have a fun life. Happy prospecting and keep it safe out there.